The Big Ten today. Brought to you by Avis Rent-A-Car Systems. Avis, red hot. By Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. For all you do, this Bud's for you. And by Isuzu, the biggest car company in the world. Now live in our studio, here's Dave Dial.
This is homecoming weekend all over the Big Ten, and already the Big Ten is leading everyone, college or pro, in attendance. They will sell out, as Jim Simpson mentioned, for our Big Ten game of the week, Minnesota at Ohio State, the 31st consecutive sellout in that huge gray horseshoe on the banks of the Olentangy. And we'll keep you right up to the minute, as Jim said, on the Michigan-Indiana contest. That's a sellout, only the 9th in 29 seasons at Bloomington. But the 12th-ranked Hoosiers are 0-15 against Bo Schembechler's teams and have never in 103 years beaten Ohio State and Michigan in the same season. Folks are excited about the 5-1 Hoosiers, coached by the very talented Bill Mallory and quarterbacked by a very confident David Schnell. Schnell is third in the nation in passing, only because he's matured this season, though. In the second game this year against Kentucky, he let the enemy crowd get to him. He had a bad day and Indiana lost. Coach Mallory says that's the moment David Schnell grew up as a quarterback.
I was a young quarterback. It's the first time I had to deal with something like that down in Kentucky, and really I thought, you know, the whole team really kind of broke down and wasn't playing to their ability, and just things weren't going right, and it was just first time we had to deal with adversity, and we got that out of our system. I'm glad it happened early in a non-conference game, so that way we were able to deal with it and cope with it in a different situation like Columbus.
And at Columbus, you dared the crowd to rattle you.
Yeah, you know, because we felt real confident all day, doing pretty much whatever we wanted, and you know, the offensive line said they could hear me, and so that, you know, I just was trying to really get them madder, you know, just by, you know, they were trying to get loud in the first place. I was just trying to get them going a little bit more.
That's pretty cocky, though. You had 98 yards to go, and you're leading by 7. You cough up the ball, and it's 17 all.
Yeah, you know, it's just something, you know, I have confidence in my players, and I think they have confidence in me, and it's something you can't think about, and it's something, if you start thinking about it, that's where it may occur.
Indiana has had but 5 winning seasons in 40 years. Schnell says the change in attitude began back when the team started practice.
When we reported for camp, we knew we had the talent. We were a young team last year. We knew we had quite a bit of talent coming back and a lot of experience, and we knew we were capable, and it's showing right now.
I don't know why we should be so shocked by the Hoosiers' success. Last year, Indiana lost 4 Big Ten games to Ohio State, Minnesota, Illinois, and Purdue by a total of 11 points. Seems to me the Hoosiers this year, instead of figuring a way to lose, are trying to figure out a way to win. All right, Purdue and Iowa. Iowa's figuring out a way to win this afternoon in the fourth quarter, leading Purdue by a score of 31-14. We have highlights of that. Early on, Quinn Early. Speaking of early, number 1, a 38-yard touchdown pass from Chuck Hartley. He's thrown 3 of them. That made it 14-0 Iowa. And now Travis Watkins of Iowa, a long one again, 55 yards, a scoring pass from the same Chuck Hartley. Hayden Fry had 3 good quarterbacks, finally settled on Hartley. This one made it 21-0. Purdue made a modest comeback. And was this really a touchdown? Always good to officiate from the broadcast booth. Darren Miles, number 33 at Purdue. He wasn't in, but the official said he was, and he's running the game. And right now, the score in that game, of course, it's no contest. Purdue is way ahead. Illinois and Michigan State. Illinois doing a good job on Lorenzo White right now. He has only 40 yards, and that's tied 7-all third quarter. Northwestern and Wisconsin. Wisconsin is leading winless Wildcats 14-3. You know, with all this hoopla attending Tim Brown of Notre Dame, and he's had more television exposure than anyone except Monty Hall. There are 14 players in the Big Ten who have gained more yardage passing and 7 who have as many touchdowns. And Indiana's Ernie Jones is beating Brown like a red-headed stepchild. Twice as many catches, twice as much yardage, and 4 times as many touchdowns. Now let's go to other scores. Number 2 ranked Nebraska is leading over Kansas State. That's 7-0. There in the first quarter. Taylor has scored in that. Auburn is missing a quarterback today. Jeff Berger has been temporarily suspended for 1 game. The coach, Pat Dye, said he's investigating the possible receiving of extra benefits. Has to do with a hunting trip. And Auburn has a good quarterback in there, Reggie Slack, and is leading Mississippi State 7-0 in the first quarter. 7th-ranked Clemson, do you believe this score? They may have saliva tests down there. North Carolina State at halftime, leading 7th-ranked Clemson by a score of 30-0. Now, why would Syracuse pour it on Colgate? 35-0, and they go for another pass. McPherson to Kane. They've hooked up 4 times. Come on, Coach. 42-0 at half. Call off the dogs. Notre Dame and Southern Cal. Notre Dame is now leading 17-7 in that, and Tim Brown has 1 touchdown pass. Kentucky's only beaten Georgia 3 times in 30 years, and Kentucky is leading today 14-10. Tennessee playing Georgia Tech. It's 6-0 Tennessee there in the first quarter. Oklahoma State and Missouri are 7-0 Oklahoma State in the first quarter, and we'll be right back after this timeout. I don't intend to lose this audience today to a World Series audience. Now, we're going to watch the World Series, too. It's a pretty dull series anyway, and we'll keep you posted on everything you really need to know about baseball today, okay? Now I want to go to Jim Simpson. Jim, I spent a lot of time in Ohio, and my reading of the fans there is that the mood is not upbeat involving Ohio State fans, and that the fans really are not involved. Is that pretty accurate, you think?
Well, I don't think it's that accurate after all, David. There were a bundle of them, thousands of them at Purdue last week. You can hear them behind now. What they don't like and what they're concerned about is the apparent conservatism of the coaching of Earl Bruce. But we'll talk about Steve Davis about that later. 1 week ago, we were in West Lafayette, and Everett Ross, that fine wide receiver of Ohio State, was fielding a punt when he got hurt. We thought it was a very serious injury. Were you with us? Everybody in front of the television set and in the stadium thought it was a serious injury. He went to field a punt, Everett Ross did, and he lowered his head as he fumbled the punt, looked back for the ball. And at the same time, Purdue's Tyrone Starks made the tackle. Watch this. The collision immobilized Everett Ross. After many minutes, Ross was strapped to a stretcher and then taken from the field to the hospital. Later on our telecast, we were able to report that Everett had a concussion and was in stable condition. That was 1 week ago. What about today? Let's find out from John Snyder and his guest along the sidelines.
Jim, with me is Dr. Robert Murphy, who's been the team physician at Ohio State for 35 years. Dr. Murphy, it looked very serious last week. I'm sure a lot of people were concerned. What was the nature of the injury, and how is Everett Ross now?
Well, he received this injury, which was a whiplash to his neck, and was unconscious for about 1.5 to 2 minutes. The trainers got there. He was not moving. By the time I got there, he was beginning to wake up. And when I talked to him, he said that he felt numb all over. That kind of commits us to treating it as a cervical spine injury until proven otherwise. Now, so we treated him with a head mobilization, put him on a board, took him out of the hospital to get a lateral x-ray. It was normal. His x-ray spines were normal. And by the time he got there, he was moving everything in clear. So at that time, we downgraded it to a cerebral concussion, but mild to moderate variety.
When will he be able to play? He conceivably could play today, but probably won't, correct?
I think that's correct. He looks fine. He's out on the field, did all the warm-ups without difficulty, perfectly clear, but he has not practiced all week, and our sort of rule of thumb is they don't practice, they don't play. So we'll wait till next week.
Okay, Doctor, thank you very much. That's the story, Jim. Back to you.
Thank you, John. And also in that game last week, Ohio State was leading 17-0 at the half, but were tied 17-all late in the fourth quarter. The Ohio State offense stumbling again in the second half when they called upon Matt France. Matt France wanted another chance. He was confident, despite the fact he had had 2 misses at the other end of the field, that he could make this one from 50 yards out. And make it he did. The ball just barely cleared the bar from 50 yards away with a bit more than 3 minutes to play, and Ohio State was fortunate to leave that game a winner by 3 over Purdue. But as we said, Matt France was confident. Matt France just wanted a chance to kick it.
As soon as we, started moving down, completing passes and moving into field goal situation, I started thinking about that kick. Started thinking about the things that I was going to have to do to make that kick. And a couple of the assistant coaches asked me if I thought I could make it, and I kind of mumbled. But I knew that I could, and I finally, said, yeah, I can make it. And they made me go up to head coach and look him in the eye and tell him I could make it. So that's what I had to do, and I had to convince him a couple times. He said, can you make this kick? And I said, I can make this kick. And he kind of looked both ways, and then he looked back and he said, you know you can make it? And I said, I know I can make it. And then he said, go ahead and kick it.
Dave Dials back in our Big Ten studios in Champaign. Let me fill you in on some scores now. Number 10 ranked Notre Dame is leading Southern Cal by a score of 20-7. They're now at the half in South Bend. Tim Brown, who hasn't done much in the last few weeks, got a touchdown run here from close in. That's him, number 81. That made it 17-7. Now, East Carolina and South Carolina are at the half now, and Joe Morrison's South Carolina Gamecocks are up 24-6. Pitt playing Navy this afternoon, a rather dull game. Pittsburgh leading at fourth quarter by a score of 10-6. The Army playing Rutgers, and they are scoreless in the second quarter. Now, we have some night games for you. The #1 ranked team in the country, Oklahoma's playing Colorado tonight. Miami, #3, is playing at Cincinnati. Should be a long night for the Bearcats. California playing 8th-ranked UCLA. That also is a later starting game. And some of the top teams in the country are off today. 4th-ranked LSU, 5th-ranked Florida State, along with Florida, Alabama, and Penn State. So 5 of the ranked teams are not playing. Let's return now to Ohio Stadium. Columbus, Ohio, Jim Simpson.
Megan Hedberg.
Today we are here at Ohio Stadium in Columbus, Ohio, and Steve Davis. Dave asked me about the lack of involvement of people with the Ohio State team. I denied that fact, but people are talking about Earl Bruce. And you were critical in the Kickoff Classic a week ago, or a year ago, of Earl Bruce. And last week you were talking about his conservatism. So what is this thing between Steve Davis and Earl Bruce?
Well, there's nothing. I think the real point is I didn't understand Earl Bruce a year ago. And I think understanding Earl Bruce is the key to really appreciating and respecting Earl Bruce. There are only 2 coaches in all of college football that really have been able to follow legends and sustain programs to a high level of play. Tom Osborne is doing it at Nebraska behind Bob Devaney, and then Earl Bruce following Woody Hayes. And you think about Earl Bruce, the key about him is he's won the conference title, or at least shared it 4 times in his years. 8 of his teams have won at least 9 games, played in bowl games, and he's really been able to coexist with the Woody Hayes legend, I think, admirably with his own personality.
But the Columbus papers, and Ohio State is in Columbus, Ohio. Even yesterday, we're talking about the conservatism of Earl Bruce in his play.
I am convinced that the media, with all the advanced media opportunities that we have today, that we can't recognize legends in development sooner than what we do. Earl Bruce's offense, no doubt, they are conservative. It is unimaginative. But I think the key about Earl Bruce is he's giving his football team right now the best opportunity to win, and that's what his job is.
All right, so much for Earl Bruce. We'll talk about John Gutekunst of Minnesota in a few moments. The kickoff is just moments away from Columbus, Ohio, Ohio Stadium, where Minnesota's not won since 1949. Big Ten football, America's premier conference. One of these teams today, after the game is over, Rose Bowl hopes will be intact. For the loser, it would be their second loss. And only 3 teams in the Big Ten have lost 2 in conference play and have gone on to the Rose Bowl. In the series, Ohio State has won the last 5. And Minnesota's last victory, as we told you, was 31 years ago. Temperature 68 degrees, humidity 59. They expect some rain, and that wind is at least 25 miles an hour. And hello to you. I'm Jim Simpson along with Steve Davis, and welcome to Big Ten football for today. Ohio State and Minnesota. And we come to Ohio State and we come to Minnesota, Steve Davis. And the obvious thing as you look at statistics, as I do, that is the good defense of Ohio State, troubled offense. The good offense of Minnesota, troubled defense.
Well, there's no doubt. It takes 2 of the 3 phases of the game to really win a ball game. And I really believe today that the key is the Ohio State offense against the Minnesota defense. Ohio State last week in the Purdue game, as we saw, they really were struggling for their identity. And what Earl Bruce and his offensive coaches did, Jim, they went back to what they're most identified with. And I think that's the key to success in any football situation. They're not producing the points, only 16.8 points a game. That will not be enough today. They've got to score more than their season high of 24 points to give them a chance in the ball game. And then they've got trouble in the receiver positions. They lost Chris Carter. They lost Nate Harris. They lost Everett Ross. And so that's been a real frustration. They've got to find someone, be it Vince Workman or Carlos Snow, to make them prolific on offense that they have not been.
But there's a word that you use that you've not used thus far. The team that gets impatient.
Well, that's true. I really believe for Minnesota, they're a football team that has 6 players that this is the first year for them to start. They're a youthful defense. They're pretty conservative, but they try to mix up things. I really believe the key for them.
Ohio State. Minnesota got something to root for today. Here's Ohio State's record beating West Virginia. That was on the Big Ten Network. Oregon, the tie with LSU, the tough game with Illinois, the big loss to Indiana, and the last-minute win on a field goal over Purdue last week. Earl Bruce, we talked about him. 9th year, he's been in a bowl every one of the 8 years. And now back to what we were saying.
Well, to finish the point about Minnesota, I really believe that they're struggling defensively. They're trying to do some things, slant, give their defense a better chance. The key for Minnesota and for Ohio State when they're on offense is that neither team, they've got to stay within their personality. Which team gets impatient quickest? And when that happens, I really believe you'll see something happen that will determine the 2 or 3 phases of the game that you've got to have. And I really believe that that's the key to the ball game.
And remember, each team has lost one. Again, historically, if you lose 2, you seldom go to the Rose Bowls. Whoever loses today, chances are rather dim for the Rose Bowl. Now the option of Minnesota it runs. That could be problems for the Ohio State defense as good as it is.
Well, Ricky Foggy, in my mind, is the greatest combination of option quarterback in the country, and I really believe that we'll see a lot of exciting things. He's going to put them on pressure today.
As you can see, they rolled up a lot of points. They lead in total offense, and so the eyes of Minnesota are on the Golden Gophers and their beloved Twins. Big Ten football from Columbus, Ohio, after this.
Number 46.
Big Ten football is brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. And by Apple Computers, makers of the new Macintosh SE and Macintosh 2 family of personal computers.
The wind down here in the field today in Ohio Stadium is swirling. Basically, it's blowing straight out of the south, which on your TV screen will be from the wind is going to be a major factor the way things are now. We've felt a few sprinkles of rain. We expect some rain before the afternoon is over. Right now, the field is dry. The crowd is going to be between 85 and 90,000 for homecoming. Here's Jim.
All right, John, we have a problem with your microphone. We'll rectify that, but I'm sure also you're going to get rather wet this afternoon, this exciting afternoon. The Buckeyes of Ohio State in their homecoming, the 30th reunion for the team of 1957, which went 9-1 and won the Big Ten and the national championship. And as usual at Ohio State, better than 85,000, a sellout here at Ohio Stadium. Minnesota 5-1 and the Buckeyes 4-1-1, each team 2-1 in the Big Ten. Pat Ormoro to kick off to Minnesota, which lost last week when they missed a field goal in the last minute and a half, playing Ohio State, which won last week when they hit a 50-yard field goal with 3:10 to go. Deep is the leading man in the Big Ten in kickoff returns. Chris Gators, averaging better than 23 yards per kickoff return. Kicking with the win. Gators, they want him to have the ball. He's in the end zone and will not bring it out. So play will start. 1st and 10 at the 20 for the Golden Gophers of Minnesota, coming off their first loss. Ricky Foggy leading in total offense in the Big Ten as the quarterback. He can throw too, remember. Darrell Thompson gained more yardage than a freshman has ever gained in NCAA history. The tailback, Rosell Richardson, is the fullback, a junior out of Warren, Ohio. Jason Bruce, a real sprinter, one wide receiver. And the other is Dennis Carter out of Miami, Florida. And for the first time, Minnesota goes to work on that tough Ohio State defense. Foggy with the football and the pitch out to Gary Couch, a wide receiver who was in that full back field. Offensive line now.
Gary Couch was the ball.
Tight end is Greg Otto, 84 out of Elk River, Minnesota. Left tackle, Dan Recton out of St. Louis. At left guard, the senior, Paul Anderson of Wisconsin. Junior out of Pittsburgh at center, Brian Williams. Troy Wolkow is the right guard, a senior. And Dan LaMotta is the sophomore right tackle. A gain for Couch of 6 at 2nd down and 4 for Minnesota. Ball on the 26-yard line. That is Otto. Tight end in motion, and Foggy misses him at the 39-yard line. Craig Otto was all open. He was in motion as a tight end, and nobody covered him up.
Craig Otto incomplete.
Defensively for Ohio State, front three, Holloman, Sullivan, and Coleman. Linebackers, Cummerall, Spielman, and the twin brother, Mike Sullivan, John Sullivan, and Mike McRae. Defensive backs, William White, Zach Dumas, Ray Jackson, David Brown. Dave Rogan is injured and out for the year. 3rd down and 4. Roselle Richardson will not get the first down. And perhaps a yard, and that is all. John Sullivan, an inside linebacker, number 57, in on the stop. 3rd down and a couple to go, and Minnesota will have to give the ball up. Brent Herbel comes on to punt the ball away, and remember, he will be punting into a strong wind to Vince Workman, who has taken over for the injured Everett Ross as the kick return man. Workman has also taken over as a flanker. Into that strong wind, the ball will go nowhere. Hits down at the 43 and gets a Minnesota bounce out near midfield at the 49 of Minnesota. And a flag is down back at the 18-yard line. We'll wait just a moment. Referee Gil Marchman there is saying holding against Minnesota. I would assume that Ohio State with the ball at the 49 will refuse that. Up. That's the other way. Now bring it back, and of course Minnesota will accept that. Falling over Gary Couch, the senior wide receiver who carried the ball on 1st down. While they're straightening this out, Gil Marchman is the referee. The umpire is Frank Strokia. Mark Baltz is the head linesman. Line judge Tom Hoffman. George Solomon, the field judge. Side judge Dick Honig. And Bill Carollo is the back judge. And they're all, most of them, huddling now at the 27-yard line. John Gutekunst looking on. Done a good job at Minnesota. This is his 2nd full year. Took over when Lou Holtz went to Notre Dame. And had his first coaching job in the Independence Bowl, where he beat Clemson. And Clemson is getting clobbered today by North Carolina State. Well, I assume that they have accepted it, and now Gil will tell us.
We have holding on the receiving team. Post possession, 10 yards from the spot of the catch.
Post possession. That is after the punt, so the ball belongs to Ohio State. Tom Tupa coming back on.
What's got to be disappointing for Ohio State is they were going to have excellent field position, and now all of a sudden, if you look at their starting lineup, I'm sorry.
Bryant is the tailback. George Cooper, the big fullback.
Quarterbacking the Buckeyes, number 19.
Vince Workman moved from tailback to one wide receiver. Everett Ross is injured, remember. So the other wide receiver, let us look down. It is Gary Clipp, the senior, who did such a good job last year, number 18. First down from the 40-yard line of Ohio State. And here's Tom Tupa on 1st down. And looking downfield, and nobody down there but Minnesota, and diving for it is David Williams, the strong safety. And he can't quite get to it at the 15-yard line. Intended for Cliff. Offensive line, and this is where Ohio State has had problems due to injury. Not a tight end, however, where Alex Higdon is a fixture. Senior out of Cincinnati. Left tackle is Joe Stasiak. At guard is Carl Coles filling in for the injured Jeff Davidson. At center is Jeff Uhlenhake, an all Big Ten guard last year. At the other guard spot, Greg Zakharoff, a junior, and Tim Moxley's at right tackle, filling in for the John Peterson, who dislocated his right elbow. 2nd down 10. They give the ball to Cooper, and Cooper gets across the middle to about the 45-yard line and make it 3rd down and 5. Defensively for Minnesota, Gary Had, Doug Mueller, Trent Tripp, the front three, Ron Getz, Terry Horitzik, John Leverins, he's a good one, at inside linebacker, and Brian Bonner. In the secondary, McCree, Jackson, Williams, and Berry. It is 3rd down and 6 for Ohio State at their own 44. A minute and a half gone, no score. That is Workman, the man in motion. Tupa under pressure. It's Gets away, has his time, and throws for his tight end, Alex Higdon. Shy of the first down. He's hit down immediately by David Williams, a strong safety. It's 4th down.
Defensive tackle made by David Williams.
And they're sending on the kicking team.
Ohio State came into the ball game with the attitude that they were willing to play the kind of physical game that they played last week against Purdue. They've been able now to try to throw the ball. Tom Tupa has done a very good job of getting away from pressure. Just were unable to get the 1st and 10 to Higdon.
What kind of punt do you think this will be? The nation's leading punter, kicking with about 25 miles an hour of wind behind him. This is liable to wind up in Dublin, Ohio. See, he angles it toward the sideline. Kicks it high. Beautiful kick. Nobody back there to field it, and even though he was perhaps just trying to kick inside the 20, couldn't make it. We'll be right back with more Big Ten football in a moment. We are here in Columbus, Ohio. Ohio State nothing, and Minnesota nothing. Neither team has been able to pick up a first down. And for the second time, Minnesota starts its offense at the 20. Jason Bruce in motion. Foggy and Darrell Thompson carries the ball for the first time. Good move there. Stepped right around the arms of David Brown and was finally put down after a 6-yard gain as John Sullivan peeled back to make the stop along with Ray Jackson. 2nd down and 4. Picked up 6 on the first time they had the ball, with Couch carrying the ball out of the outfield but could not get the first down. 9 minutes to go. Michigan State, they said, with the easiest remaining schedule, Illinois at the moment is beating them, and we will keep you up to date. Don't worry about that. You will know when we know, and we're right on top of it. 2nd and 4. Big Ten is really a scramble, isn't it? Here's Foggy, straight drop back pass, gets the ball out to Ozell Richardson, and Richardson goes down with a loss and back of the 18-yard line. Richardson, the junior fullback, had no shot. As soon as he got the ball, the defense was there. And it is 3rd down, and 18 to go, 12 to go.
I'm really surprised that Minnesota's throwing the ball in the early downs in deep territory. It just seems like that they wanted to come out, at least last night, establish their option game and run the football at Ohio State, and they've had to come out and throw.
And Census All-American Chris Spielman says he talks to no one on game day, and in the paper this morning, he feels, don't boo us, don't boo our offense. We got to get it all together. 3rd and long, Foggy with the ball. Foggy gets the ball out to the short man. And Jason Bruce can't go anywhere except for the 23. They'll have to kick away into that strong wind again. Though Herbal, who managed only a 24-yard punt the first time out, will try it again. Georgia finally in front of Kentucky, and in front to stay. They won the ball game. Maryland beat Duke by 1. Workman watches this ball hit the 45 to the 50, and this time it'll roll inside the 45 to the 44 of Ohio State. But the Buckeyes again get outstanding field position. Little Herbal has been able to do with that strong wind. No score. Michigan State in danger of losing in the Big Ten. They haven't done that yet. Indiana's got a tough assignment. That's going on now. Remember, we will have highlights and updates from Bloomington for you through our telecast today. Workman wide to the left on 1st and 10 for Ohio State. Tupa getting it out to Workman, and he can't hang on to the ball. Clift was doing a good job of blocking the strong safety David Williams on that time to clear the way for Workman, but Vince dropped the ball.
When your offense is not being consistent, you start to pick at yourself, and the coaches, offensive coaches, I think they've got it figured out what their problems are. At times, it's been Tom Tupa's inconsistency. That time, a poor throw to an open receiver. Little bitty things that have caused the offense not to hit on all cylinders and not to be effective. They've been inconsistent, and that's their frustration.
Happy birthday to Carlos Snow, the tailback who is in there now. He's 19 years old today, and this youngster from Cincinnati has great speed, and he's got the ball with no place to go. Snow hit down immediately. Looked like Mike Sunvold was in on the stop.
Defensive play by Mike Sunvold.
Third down. 19 years old today, had a good day against Purdue last week. 7 carries for 42 yards. And we expect to see a lot of Carlos Snow today. It is 3rd and long. 3rd and 9. Tupa has time, running out of it, almost fell down. Oh, did he fake out Getz, the linebacker? Ron Getz took a pump fake from Tupa and left him and went back to the center, opening up the left side for Tupa.
Great ability of Tom Tupa to make something happen when you've got pressure. He breaks away. Tom does this sometimes too often, gets away from pressure prematurely. But watch what he does to Ron Getz, 37. Just the hand fake that he might be throwing caused Getz to think responsibility and caused Tom Tupa to make a significant run to the left side.
Our first down of the day, the ball at the 38-yard line of Minnesota. No score, 9:23 to go, first quarter. Workman didn't get the signal he should go in motion. Tupa had to tell him. And here's Bryant. Bryant hit down as he gets to the line of scrimmage. The strong safety, Dave Williams, number 48, was forcing there at the line of scrimmage. And it is 2nd down and still about 10.
John Leverance, 56, is an excellent linebacker. Another one of the great linebackers. Again, the key to great linebacking is the straightest line to the tackle. Leverance is able to find the open area, the seam. No one picked him up and makes the beeline for the tackle.
Leverance is 3rd in the Big Ten, behind Strickland of Purdue and Spielman of Ohio State in total tackles. 2nd and long. There's Snow and he falls down. Snow fell down behind the line of scrimmage. So Carlos is not having the kind of birthday celebration on the field thus far. Tackled for a loss, and then he slips on his 2nd carry.
Earl Bruce has done an excellent job of bringing Carlos Snow, the true freshman, along. He's not put a lot of pressure on him early. He will continue to play more and more. He's got the endurance, the balance, all the right attributes of being just a great tailback, running back for Ohio State, but they've given him the patience and the time to develop into a player.
They take out Jeff Ellis, one of their tight ends, and bring back in Workman and Cliff. On 3rd down and long. Back to throw again. Trying to set up and throws up to Cooper on a little screen, and Cooper does not get the first down. Outstanding defensive play there, led by John Leverance, along with Frank Jackson, the freshman cornerback. And it's 4th down.
Because Ohio State was so conservative last week, running in between the tackles, it has a tendency to cause defenses to focus inside. Good call, go to a screen pass. Tupa does a great job of looking to the right, and you saw linebackers moving, and then able to find George Cooper. That is a new dimension, a wrinkle in their offensive attack.
52 yards out and fumbled there by Scott Powell, who puts it up in the air for somebody, and it's caught at the 32. Powell was holding for a Matt France 52-yard attempt. Remember, a 50-yarder won it last week against Purdue, and with the win. But a bad snap, a Hail Mary pass, and Minnesota takes over with its best field position out near the 35-yard line.
These mistakes should not happen in the 6th game of the season. Sloppiness, just not positive in any sense. Busted in terms of the catch of the holder, and then almost a very bad mistake.
Well, the Big Ten has nobody in the top 10. Some say it's because of lack of quarterbacks. Earl Bruce of Ohio State comments on quarterbacks. Lack of.
Spoiled. We had great quarterbacks in this league for about 4 or 5 years. I mean, great quarterbacks. We have some good quarterbacks now, but I think there's another factor in that. I think that all the defenses are getting better. Teams are playing better defense, and we've caught up with some of the offenses and done a better job.
Syracuse 42, Colgate 0.
First down. Minnesota, Michigan, and State, and Illinois. And remember, the tie will be a heck of a lot better than a loss for Michigan State. Jesse Lyon are rooting the other way. Foggy pitches to Thompson on the first option of the day. And dragged down across the way by Mike McCray, the linebacker, who never took the fake but went with his man Thompson and put him out of bounds.
And Chris Spielman.
2nd down. Still 10.
Minnesota came into the ball game realizing that the option play had to be their key essential play in their offensive attack. They've got to make something happen with Kumaro 14 and McCray 99.
Thompson again, this time straight ahead. That's a nice little move there for a first down. Minnesota's first. Lost the football for a moment, but they say that Thompson has it back. Number 1 rushing in offense in the Big Ten.
So many times when you're playing option football teams, you have a tendency, see the linebackers, you see Sullivan and Spillman, they're concentrating outside, trying to press outside, and so that's why that play on the inside is working, because they've got to get flow because of the speed of Minnesota and just the threat of the formation, and that's what you're seeing. You see, though, you want to get those linebackers moving just like they did.
First man through, Roselle Richardson for a yard or 2. We have no score. 6:20 to go in the first quarter. For other scores, let's go to Dave Dials.
I have one score, Jim, and it's a biggie. It's raining at Bloomington, and Bo Schembechler's unhappy. Indiana scored on his first possession and leads the Michigan Wolverines 7-0 first quarter, back to Columbus.
You never know, David, what is going to happen, but when Indiana gets a possession and moves right away against Michigan, you got to begin to believe what I'm sure that Ohio State will tell you. Indiana is for real. Second down and nearly 10 to go. Ball at the 49-yard line of Minnesota. And here's an end around to the tight end who coughs the ball up. And Sullivan picks it out of midair. Greg Otto fumbled the ball forward to John Sullivan.
Watch Chris Spillman, the All-American, number 36. He will create the fumble. Spillman's not fooled by all the trickery. He knows exactly what's going to happen on the crossbuck. Good head-on ball tackle, pops it loose, and there's John Sullivan. Opportunistic ball perfectly falling into his hand. Good effort by Chris Spillman. Good tackle.
Talk about Ohio State's offense. Third time at or near midfield, and in the first 2 times they did not score, nor did they come close. Ohio State looking for that offense. There is Matlock in at fullback. Number 11, the junior out of Columbus, and he may have gotten a yard, and that is all. Down near the 46-yard line. Clock running. Rain has not arrived at Ohio Stadium yet. No score. 5:23 to go in the first quarter. Lots of surprises. Matlock, who had played the week before last, did not carry the ball against Purdue last week, and now has filled in and carried it once in replacement for George Cooper. Workman, the only man out wide, is wide to the left.
Get your heads up. Don't worry about it. Get your heads up.
Second down 9. This is Carlos Snow. And Snow, what's there again? Minnesota's defense has been maligned, but thus far playing rather well.
Jim, if you remember last week, Ohio State did not run a lot of I formation. When you have the I formation, you put more pressure on your offensive line, and you've got to have a dominant tailback. With Carlos Snow, they're in the I formation. That may be a little bit of the confidence building that maybe we can be an I formation team, which is what their tradition is. But the reason they've not been it all year is they've not been able to control the line of scrimmage, and they've not had anybody surface as a great tailback or an I-back.
Bryant back in, and Clift is wide to the right. Third down and about 5 to go. Tupa back. Tupa's got his man, and he's got the first down. Workman makes the catch at the 31-yard line with Frank Jackson, the freshman, all over him. Low throw, but Vince pulls it out.
You have to be just amazing at the Ohio State ability to continue to find talented players. Vince Workman moved from the tailback position to the flanker position. He's working outside. Tupa throws it low, but he's able to find the ball and put it away. Good effort by Vince Workman. He gives them the dimension they have lacked with the loss of Chris Carter, Nate Harris, Everett Ross. He gives them a dimension.
Tupa, 50% last week for a touchdown. Workman, 88 yards on 4 receptions. First down at the 31, the first serious threat of the day. And here comes Workman. Workman gets away from the tackle of David Williams and has another first down at the 16-yard line. They put Workman in the backfield. He is their leading rusher, although switched to flanker, and he's got the big first down.
I think Vince Workman's doing an admirable job of the comparison to Timmy Brown and Notre Dame. You can look at what's happened in terms of the receivers and their woes, what happened to Carter and Harris, Everett Ross last week, and then to have the depth and I think, the insight of moving Vince Workman over to that flanker position, because now he can get the ball either by the pitch in the backfield or by the pass.
First down, 16-yard line. Less than 3.5 minutes to go, first quarter. Bryant wedges down for 5 yards to the 11. James Bryant, the sophomore, out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, gets to the 11. It's 2nd and 5. Bryant is the man who took over when Workman went out to the flanker spot. And Carlos Snow is pushing Bryant. Snow, a freshman, Bryant, a sophomore. Ohio State looking to put it all together, offense and defense, just once. In the last 2 games, they've been outscored in the second half 30-3. The first half has been their moment. Again, Bryant. First and goal to go inside the 1. Holding on again is David Williams, the strong safety. Number 48.
One of the joys of Ohio State's offense right now is to have dimensions to do so many things to you. There's John Leverett's 56. He's got to make the play, but unfortunately Stasiak, 79, walls him off and gives Workman the ability to get in, Bryant the ability to get into the secondary.
Cooper is in with Bryant. Bryant, no. Leverins really stacked him up at about the 3. John Leverins, who had 21 tackles last week against Indiana.
In a football game, Jim, you have about 80 to 90 plays, both teams, in terms of total plays. You make mistakes like Leverance did on the previous play, then you come back. No one feels for Leverance. He's going to make a good head-on tackle right there. Good ability, just a sophomore, but he's an excellent player and one of the fine linebackers in the Big Ten.
He will win a lot of postseason honors. Bryant with a lot of room, touchdown.
You think of the classic offensive lineman. Look at the great effort of an offensive line to wall him off inside and then to be able to get him into the end zone. Good job to seal the inside.
His third touchdown rushing, and of course the extra point is added by Matt France. We'll come right back with more Big Ten football in a moment. The score here in Columbus, Ohio. Ohio State 7, Minnesota nothing.
This is Dave Dials, and this is the final of Michigan State 14, Illinois 14. In the final play of the game, Illinois blocked a 28-yard field goal attempt by John Langlau of Michigan State, a 14-14 final. Back to Jim Simpson.
Blocked a field goal that could have won it for Michigan State. Well, you know, that is a half a win for Michigan State. A loss would have been nearly fatal, but they are still in this Big Ten race. And as Minnesota lost to Indiana by a point last week on a missed field goal, so Michigan State does not stay unbeaten in the Big Ten this week by a blocked field goal. Ohio State leads in this one by 7.
Watch the block of Carl Cole, 66. Now he will go to the outside and watch Bryant, 41, cut inside. Now Coles doesn't do a great job, but he gets just enough in terms of being able to keep the Minnesota defender away from him for Bryant to use his size, his power to get into the end zone.
Final score, Illinois.
Again, Pat Amaro, the sophomore to Radford, Virginia, to kick off. He handles all the kickoff duties for Ohio State. They've just given the score here to the Buckeye fans, better than 85,000. We now see some umbrellas up. So even though Steve and I do not feel it in the booth, obviously John Snyder feels it along the sidelines, but it must be raining a little bit, very softly at the moment. Amaro to kick. Gators is the man deep, and he will have a chance with this if he wishes, but he does not wish again. So they'll come out to the 20-yard line. Ohio State has had outstanding field position and has scored 1 touchdown, and Minnesota has not had good field position. They've started nearly every time at their own 20, once at the 34. We've got a minute and a half left in the first quarter. On Bryant's touchdown, Buckeyes lead by 7.
Michigan, co-sponsoring the
Jim Simpson, Steve Davis, John Snyder. We're at Ohio Stadium in Columbus. The Buckeyes lead by 7. First down for Minnesota with the best offense in the Big Ten statistically, better than 420 yards per game, but having a little difficulty getting on track today. Jason Bruce in motion. Dell Thompson bounces off a tackle attempt by Spielman and gets out to about the 24. Second down. Touchdown was scored by Jamie Bryant. I think we told you that is his 3rd touchdown of the year. Started last week over Workman, who went out to flanker and gained 77 yards against Purdue. Second down and 7. Chris Gators now in as one wide receiver. Wide to the left, Bruce is to the right. We're in the last minute of the first quarter. Foggy still has a football and is looking for Gators, and Gators is out of bounds at the 43-yard line. Incomplete. It is 3rd down and 7.
I think a lot of people that play against Minnesota and Ricky Foggy often want to challenge his passing ability, but I think Ricky Foggy has truly become a fine passer in his senior year. He's a 55% passer. He's shown us the touch in the Northwestern game. He's playing better with more authority. That's probably, in my mind, it's a catchable ball for Chris Gators. It's out of bounds, but still.
Let me give you a statistic about Foggy and see what happens today. Last year against Ohio State, he was -1 yard rushing and only 4 for 10 passing in the entire game. Let's see how he does this year against Ohio State. 3rd down and long, 7 to go. Foggy does not pitch out, now hands the ball, and it's going to be picked up by Ohio State again. Almost handed the ball, and it looks like it's Sullivan again, but we'll pick him out for you. Nope, it is not 57, looks like 27, Dave Brown. And we'll check on that. Let's watch and see.
The greatest intimidation of an option quarterback is an end outside linebacker like Eric Kumaro, 14. First of all, he's got a wingspan, but like a 747. You can't see, he's indecisive. He makes a terrible mistake as a quarterback. Take your loss, cut inside, but don't lose your pitch relationship and make the mistake that he did. David Brown makes the interception of the pitch. Terrible mistake by Foggy.
At the 25-yard line, Workman the man in motion. Ohio State with another gift. Tupa still with the ball. Looks and throws over to the tight end Higdon. Higdon is dragged down by David Williams inside the 20 at the 17-yard line. A pickup of 8. It's 2nd down and 2. Maybe the last play of the first quarter. Next week, Steve and John and I and all of the Big Ten Network folks will be out in Iowa City, Indiana, leading Michigan today against Iowa today, which had a big win over Purdue, looking very good. And remember, we're back to our regular time next week of 12 Eastern, 11 Central. Cooper wedging out, trying to get the first down, and I believe he's got it. Hanging on him is Brian Bonner as the first quarter has now ended. Ohio State leads by 7 and in position for another score. A fumble by the tight end Otto set up the first Ohio State score, and now total mismanaged by Ricky Foggy at quarterback may have set up a second. Second down, or rather first down, inside the 15 for Ohio State. Ellis in motion, Bryant with the ball, submarine to the line of scrimmage. It'll be 2nd down and about 9 to go. Back to Columbus in a moment, but now let's go back to Dave Dodds.
Thank you, Jim. We promised you the video of the Indiana touchdown that put the Hoosiers in front of Michigan 7-0. This is it, 12 yards. David Schnell, the Hoosier quarterback, to number 27, Ernie Jones. Hoosiers lead 7-0 after a block punt back to Columbus, Ohio.
That is becoming a familiar combination in Big Ten lore, Schnell to Ernie Jones. And next week we will get a load of them from Iowa City. Hayden Fry's defense will too. That'll be a good game. 2nd down, let's call it 9 to go. Tupper with the ball, carrying himself, and is put down by Leverins at about the 7th. 3rd down, and let's call it almost 4 to go for the first down. Minnesota would do well to hold them to a field goal attempt here, and with that wind blowing now, even though they're in close, nothing is for sure. Last Last week, remember, Matt France from 43 and 46 yards out missed, but he was kicking into the wind. It barely went over the bar for the winning field goal with the wind. That full house, Workman has carried out of this full house before, remember, very effectively. And Workman's carrying again. They're ready for him this time, very close to the first down, inside the 5. Close enough that it is not a first down. Then Bruce may decide to go for it.
The Minnesota coaches all week have really concentrated with the Minnesota kids of trying to get them in this situation and turn them back. Make them kick a field goal, but don't let them score, and that was the focus all week long. Right now, I think that Ohio State's the confident team. I would expect them to go for it.
They've got less than a yard to go. The ball is over the 4. They don't have to get it as far as the 3. What do you think, Cooper? That famous spot comes up, but from up here, and we're looking down at an angle to our right. Looks like it's first and goal to Ohio State. For the coaches, they're already moving the stick, so it is first down.
I think Coach Bruce wants to give Ohio State the opportunity. You know, we've talked about their offense, their inconsistencies. He's trying to give them chances to be a good offensive football team. When what better situation on 4th down to let them go prove that they're a good offensive team.
Carlos Snow, Cooper, and Workman. Snow gets the call. There's his birthday present, his first touchdown at Ohio State. You'd have to think long and hard to think of something he would rather have than that on this his 19th birthday. France, who will now try for his 39th consecutive point after touchdown, his 13th of this year in a row.
Oh, it's a good run.
Carlos Snow in Cincinnati. And I have no idea what's going on here. They're leading Alex Higdon off as though he has been hurt. And they're going to replace him with Jay Cook. But in any event, Carlos Snow, who just scored the touchdown at Cape High School in Cincinnati, he ran for 7,856 yards and scored 104 touchdowns rushing the football. France adds the extra point. 12:31 to go, and we'll come right back with more Big Ten football in our first half here at Columbus, Ohio. The score now, thanks to 2 fumbles by Minnesota, 14-0, the Buckeyes. Well, neither Steve nor I are singers. We would sing happy birthday to Carlos Snow, 19 years old today. First collegiate touchdown on a 3-yard run to put the Buckeyes up by 2 touchdowns.
Jim, in running at the goal line, you have to realize that there will be seams created, and you have to have the wherewithal and the quickness to react to the seam. Watch the seam develop, and then he goes across Leverance. He found it, and then the good effort to keep one foot on the ground and then surge himself into the end zone. Watch Leverance, who has a chance to make the play, but Leverance has got to commit himself. A linebacker, you've got to commit. You don't have a whole lot of yardage to work with. He commits himself. He literally, I think he trips a little bit, and then Snow is able to go right around behind him. And watch, he goes from about the 3-yard line on 1 foot and then bounces once and then into the end zone. He only put 1 foot down and put it in the end zone.
Well, Pat O'Morrow is having a career today. This is his 4th kickoff. Kickoff to start the game, and then after now 2 touchdowns, make that his 3rd kickoff. Not that bad. Chris Gators has not been able to return either one of the first 2. St. Louis up at the Metrodome behind John Tudor. Tom Herr, another big power hitter, hit a home run. But they jump out up there. This ball may go out of bounds, and does. Kicking into the wind. That's a tough thing for O'Morrow. Back to Dave Dowles for more scores.
Okay, Jim, Notre Dame running away from USC in the 4th quarter. It's 26-7 at South Bend. And Gregory with field goal at the half. And Northwestern and Wisconsin are tied 17-all. Back to you, Jim Simpson.
Thank you, David. It's wonderful to be inhabitant of the state of 10,000 lakes and have your team in the World Series and have your team in the race for the Big Ten. But then to look at the scoreboard and see St. Louis Cardinals 1, Minnesota Twins nothing, Ohio State 14, Minnesota nothing. You're happy they're there, but I'm sure there's a lot of concern and a lot of television set switching at this time.
And a lot of frustrated wives.
Here's O'Morrow kicking into that strong wind. 7 plays after that fumble by Foggy in his attempt to pitch to Thompson for the 24 yards, and the last 3 by Snow. Now the ball has been blown off the tee.
Jim,
So
it'll be real interesting in this series whether or not Minnesota gets away from their personality, like we talked at the top of the program, in terms of which team comes out of their personality first. Will it be Minnesota's offense? We'll see.
impatience, but again, we remind everybody, and Ohio State fans, we don't have to remind them. Ohio State's done remarkably well for whatever reason in the first half of the last 2 games and only scored 3 points in the last half of each of the last 2 games total. 3 points last week against Purdue, and the week before against Indiana, zip. So they're waiting for the complete Ohio State team. John Gutekunst hopes they do not find it today. He's got a good offense. He knows that his team can get back in. Again, this will be held up by the wind. Gators will take it all the way out at the 25. Little seam there. Runs into one man still on his feet. Fine run by Gators. Gators was hit hard early on by Andrew Gerd, a linebacker, freshman out of Chagrin Falls, number 49, spun right off that tackle, and this is the best field position that Minnesota had to start with.
Next to Ricky Foggy, Chris Gators is the best athlete on the Minnesota team. Watch the fanatical effort, the surge, the balance. Great kickoff returners. When you get in the, you think so much speed, but he's got the balance and power to get away from people and to keep driving forward and give them great field position.
From the 49, 1st and 10, Carter to the right, Bruce to the left. Foggy runs into his own man, gets away, gets a few yards, steps out of bounds on the 46-yard line of Ohio State. The first time that Minnesota has been that deep or at all into Ohio State territory. Syracuse, number 9 in the nation, looking to improve that. Nebraska heading for its showdown with Whoops, Steve Davis, Oklahoma. Arkansas beaten on the last play by Texas last week, leading Houston and Jack Pardee. Kansas leading Iowa State 14-10, third quarter. Surprise there. Eastern Michigan over Western Michigan. That's a final. 2nd down and 5. Roselle Richardson barely got to the line of scrimmage.
Roselle Richardson, the ball carrier.
Spielman and Holloman.
The stop by Ray Holloman.
The real key as you look at the stats is just the fact of the turnovers and the total yards. Really the impotence of the Minnesota offensive attack to be at 11 yards, -3 in terms of its rushing yards. The frustration, then Ohio State being able to control the clock, the statistics on all sides. They're the favored, the positive team right now in the early part of the game.
8 yards, and they're averaging better than 420 a game. 3rd down and short. Foggy back, running out of time. Gets away from one tackle, keeps his feet, and does not get, well, he may have the first down. If they mark it at the 41 as they are, he's got the first down. Remarkable balance by Ricky Foggy. First down.
When you think of option quarterbacks across the country right now, you think of Don McPherson, or at least combination runner-thrower. Don McPherson at Syracuse, Steve Taylor at Nebraska. I really think Ricky Foggy is the best combination. And then what he does on the impromptu play, gets away from Kumaro and then able to move, make something happen. He can't regain his balance, but the thing is to get out of a bad play or of a lost situation.
4 years ago as a freshman, Foggy's first start was against Ohio State. Here's Foggy still with the ball. Turns as though he's going to pitch the ball, kept the ball, and picked up 5 yards down to the 36-yard line. 2nd and 5.
I've seen a lot of option moves on the option play down the line, but I've never seen a reverse pivot in front of a defensive man. Foggy went down there. I really think Ricky right now is shaken in his confidence in running the option. You don't come down there and do a reverse pivot. You come and get in the guy's face and pitch the ball with authority and make him take you. That was another mistake of Foggy. His option game is real sloppy early in the game.
Gary Couch in wide to the right. Gators in to the left. 2nd down, 5. Ball from a 31. Foggy turning it inside, has the first down. Foggy has the first down inside the 20-yard line. Dragged down from behind by William White, the cornerback on that side.
Jim, good option quarterbacking is to be able to take those situations, those plays when you have no gain, and then to realize you're going to get other chances, and the picture will be totally different. Watch Foggy. What's different here? He stretches it. He makes the decision he's going to, with authority, to turn up inside. He's got to get Otto out of his way, the tight end, but to use his speed to realize there are seams there and go back to basic option football. Realize that you can turn upfield and make plays happen, make people miss you. He did a good job.
That, we believe, is John Sullivan, who intercepted the fumble of Otto, and he is down and hurt. They've been losing a lot of regulars. Here's Dave Dials.
Here's how Michigan tied the score in the pouring rain at Bloomington. Demetrius Brown, who a couple of weeks ago had 7 interceptions, this time 8 yards to John Colasar. It's Michigan 7, the Hoosier 7. Back to you, Jim.
All right, Dave, that is John Sullivan, and we hope that he is not hurt to the point of not being able to play the rest of the game. Remember, they've lost Jeff Davidson, broken left fibula against Indiana. John Peterson, dislocated right elbow, LSU. Rogan, broken ankle. And now
there you see 57, John Sullivan. Watch his legs, ankles. See, his foot is planted. If it's his right knee, his foot was obviously planted. Then he was spun around by Otto 84, the tight end, and I think that might have been where the injury was incurred in terms of having to twist and being planted on this artificial surface. That was a perfect illustration of why people, the pros, college people, criticize the artificial turf, because when you plant, you get a good plant, and there's not any give, and he had no give that time.
He played in all 13 games a year ago, had 2 starts, and is starting today over Fred Ritter at an inside linebacker spot. John Snyder is, of course, along the sidelines, and when John knows something, we will tell you, although now Sullivan is walking off with no one helping him at all. So that may be good news for John Sullivan. His brother Mike, who's the nose man in this defense of Ohio State, and of course his parents, friends, and all Buckeye rooters everywhere. It is a first down after the run by Foggy at the 19, 14-0 Ohio State. Darrell Thompson, not much, from the 19 to the 16. Second down and 7.
There we see John Gutekunst, the coach of Minnesota, and I think the most difficult thing in this time and situation of the ball game is that coaches have a greater perspective. They are patient. They have a tendency not to panic. Players sometimes panic prematurely. They lose their confidence early. Coaches keep at it, and that's the tough decision right now for Minnesota players, is to be confident.
Carter and Couch, the wide receivers, on 2nd and 7. Ball at the 16-yard line. Foggy to Thompson, trying to get outside. Nothing there at all. The Gray stayed home and got some help from Zach Dumas, the cornerback on that side. It is 3rd down. Minnesota needs a confidence builder badly.
You'll see in this ball game, because Minnesota is more option football, more finesse, you will see the emotions go up and down a little bit more. The reason is because you'll have a good play and then you'll have a bad play. Ohio State's in a power attack. They are more hammer oriented. They will create their own consistency in the positives.
3rd and 7. Foggy looking for Bruce. There was a collision at about the 2, but no flag at all. Not saying there should have been one, but there was a real collision between Bruce and Zach Dumas.
Ohio State shifted over to this side. There were more men on this side of the field. There you see Bruce, number 38, working on Zach Dumas. This is his 2nd start, replacing Greg Rogan. Good job by Bruce to get away from him. He doesn't have all that great a speed, but then Foggy's not able to find his receiver.
Well, he was a 100 and 200 meter high school champion as a track man, so that's pretty good speed in high school. From 33 yards out, Lohmiller gets Minnesota on the board for the first time. Now remember, his kick missed last week. They lost to Indiana. He scored the first 3 this week. 14-3 Ohio State leads Minnesota.
1987 should be another banner season for Big Ten football. Learn more about your favorite teams by ordering the Big Ten Football Yearbook. It's the same source media members use to cover the conference. Outlooks, roster, and stats on each team are included, as well as all-time Big Ten records. Just send $7 plus $2.50 per order for first-class postage to Big Ten Football Yearbook, 1111 Plaza Drive, Schaumburg, Illinois, 60173. Be a Big Ten football expert. Order your copies today.
First of all, answered everybody's questions. This is not an Ohio State red sweater. It just happens to be a red sweater. Secondly, Minnesota's at last on the board.
Well, they really are, and I think that really helps them in terms of just the coaches believing and being able to sell them on the confidence aspect, because as players, it's so difficult sometimes. You lose hope, and you say, oh, no, we're going to Ohio Stadium, and it's happening to us again, and they need to have the confidence in the ball game.
And remember, any team that has lost 2 games in the conference play, only 3 in history, have gone on to the Rose Bowl. So for Ohio State and Minnesota, a big, big game, and why it's so important today that Michigan State was managed to salvage a tie as they did. That's half a win, not a loss. So they are still unbeaten in the Big Ten. They have now tied one.
So many times in option football, it takes a little bit more time to figure out how they're defensing you, what they're doing in the inside in terms of in front of the offensive lineman, what they're doing on the perimeter. So it takes a little bit more time for option football teams to get a perspective of what's happening. For power football teams, you just say, whatever you throw at me, I'm going to go after you. But for option finesse football, it takes a little bit more time. So Minnesota should be a little bit slower starting today.
Carlos Snow 25, Vince Workman 42, the deep man. Lowe Miller, who just hit the field goal, will kick off with a strong wind at his back. I see no evidence of umbrellas anywhere. That is Snow bobbling the ball at the 1. He's got to bring it out from there. He does have good speed, and it's knocking it out across the way at the 16-yard line. First is hit Ohio State at the 16. Again, David Dials.
Jim, in the Hankey series, Puckett and Baylor with RBIs. After 1 inning, Minnesota leads St. Louis 2-1. No team has ever won the World Series by winning all the games at home. And Jim, I know that really is an Ohio State sweater. It's almost burgundy. It could be a Minnesota sweater.
Thanks for taking me off the hook. First down, Ohio State. They're leading 14-3, 8.5 minutes to go, second quarter. Is smothered after he gets across the 15 to the 17-yard line. And that is all. Up top was Mike Sunvol. Now here's what happened and is happening. Purdue clobbered by Iowa, which gets Indiana next week, and we will be there. Illinois, Michigan State tied them, had a chance to win it, but a 28-yard field goal was blocked. But Michigan State gets a half a win, not a loss. Northwestern looking to win its first over Wisconsin, also looking to win its first and a third. And Michigan and Indiana tied at 7-all in the rain in Bloomington. 2nd and 9 from the 17. And again, the tailback Bryant. And again, that is Leverin standing him up, number 56. And it'll be 3rd down and about 5 to go from just across the 20. And checking in with the play is Jeff Ellis.
When you look at John Leverett, the coaches say that he just has relentless effort as a linebacker. Watch his eyes and watch his feet in terms of, or his head, in terms of always moving, keeping balance, keeping everyone away from him, and then identifying where the ball is, and then making a tackle and watch him drive. That's the kind of effort. Stopping for that gain right there on the spot, point of tackle or contact, and moving back.
3rd down and 5, or Tupa's first punt, or second punt, would be into the wind. On a pass into the wind for the first time. Getz doesn't take a fake this time. The ball is caught by Alex Higdon. First down, Ohio State, across the 30. Higdon makes a second big catch.
The ability of Ohio State to convert 1st and 10s has been their problem. They've not done it consistently. Alex Higdon, soon to be Dr. Higdon someday, is a 3.8 medical student. Tupa does a good job of getting movement. And then Alex Higdon, got to move a little bit faster there, Doc. You got to be moving because they almost got the ball intercepted.
First down from a 31. Cooper, a little bit. And And again, Mike Sunvold, the red letter freshman from Brooklyn Center, right there with John Leverance, the sophomore. Minnesota's got a young defense.
And they put so much pressure on Leverance. See, Leverance is protected. He's got two people in front, keeping people off of him. You saw it in their Had and Mueller protecting him. Now you got to fill the hole. Their design of their defense is to give Leverance, obviously, the chance to make the tackles. And again, he's not afraid to put his head in there on anybody.
2nd down, 7 from a 34. The pitch back out here to Carl Snow. Good tackle by Warren Berry, but another first down for Ohio State across their 45 to the 46.
Ohio State doesn't run the option play all that much, but what it does is it causes perimeter people, cornerbacks, to be very honest. There we see the Oklahoma State scores, trailing Missouri 17-10. But the point is, Charles McCree, number 3 that time, broke down and didn't play outside. There's my school, Kent State. They won today.
First down from the 46. Ohio State trying to put together its first real drive. The first 2 scores came as a result of turnovers in Minnesota territory. Carlos Snow. Now you can see why he gained almost 8,000 yards and 104 touchdowns. And I haven't seen anything yet. Well, perhaps that touchdown he got the 1 foot into the end zone of Carlos Snow told us that he indeed was on the gymnastics team.
Well, it certainly has great balance.
2nd down after that 6-yard pickup and 4 to go. Ball now in Minnesota territory at the 48. Tupa. Nowhere to go at all. Put down immediately by Trent Tripp with some help. Here again, David Dials.
All right, Jen, Wisconsin and Northwestern are now in the 4th quarter. Otis Flowers, a 13-yard scoring run for Northwestern to draw the teams even at 24. Back to you, James.
Less than 5 minutes to go here, Dave. 14-3 and 3rd down and 6 to go for Ohio State. Moving against the wind, but up by 11 points. Nowhere there for Bryant at 4th down. Bryant dragged down from behind by the outside linebacker, Ron Getz. And he is a sophomore as we speak of the youth of the Minnesota defense.
We said at the top of the program that defensively they had 6 players that were making their this was their first year to start on the defensive unit, and any defense that has that kind of deficiency going into the season, there are going to be some growing pains and some frustrating moments.
Michigan now leads Indiana by 3 after a field goal. Tom Tupa, the nation's leading punter. Let's see what he does here. Averaging as he is nearly 48 yards per punt. He's kicking into a very strong wind. And that's being stood up. Bearcats called for by Gators, who let the ball hop. And that is not much of a punt. That's only about 25 yards for Tupa. How about that? We'll come right back with more Big Ten football in a moment. We're in Columbus, Ohio. 14-3, Ohio State. There's a strong wind that's hampering the kicker, Steve. But if you're Foggy, the quarterback, and with the wind and 3:46 to go, I would assume with the wind at your back, it's time to get something going.
Well, you need to probably take a chance before the halftime. And I think part of the frustration, they've not created the down and distance situations that gave them the chance. They've always been behind on down and distance situations.
First down. Foggy still with the football. Pitches back to Darrell Thompson. Thompson gets about 6 yards. Is knocked down by Chris Spielman with some help from Eiseman.
By number 36, Chris Spielman.
You saw Ricky Foggy that time working on Derek Eiseman, and one of the things in option football, they're doing what on that to the wide side of the field, they're slow playing the quarterback. They're causing the quarterback to string it out, and hopefully pursuit will catch up with the quarterback where he cannot turn inside. That time Foggy did about the best job he could under that situation.
From the 31-yard line, Foggy turning the corner, has the first down. Run out of bounds by Spielman across the way, but he's got the first down at the 35, stopping the clock with 3:06 to go.
Ricky Foggy did the right thing. He just ran right by Derek Iseman. As we look at Spielman and Kummerow, two outstanding linebackers, one inside, one outside. We look at their statistics of this year, 44 solo tackles by Spielman and 45 assists. They're both outstanding players. Kummerow will be a great pro prospect. In fact, he may go ahead of Spielman just because he's got more range, more size, a little bit different type player, more the pro type player.
Leads the Big Ten in sacks and tackles for loss. First down. So Richardson with his best effort of the day, 5 yards out to the 40-yard line. So Richardson at Minnesota in his career there has played quarterback at 6'2", 238, and now a fullback. 2:50, the clock is running. 14-3 Ohio State. We're in the first half at Columbus. 2nd and 5. Foggy, the pitch to Thompson, who fumbles the ball out of bounds.
Lucky.
Lucky, it's a first down.
That's it. That's what I meant. Lucky.
Through the lane. It looked like a soccer game for a brief moment, but that ball goes out of bounds. It's first down, Minnesota.
I think Ohio State's done a very good job of making it difficult for Minnesota to be effective in the option game. It's very difficult in practice to create an imitation of a Ricky Foggy, to be able to show the abilities of them. We look at the two linebacker comparisons of Leverance of Minnesota and Spielman of Ohio State. Two fine linebackers on the field today.
1st and 10 from the 45. Foggy dumps the ball out. Pass will tell Richardson, and Richardson is close to yet another first down. Remember, as good as Ohio State's defense is, averaging 420-plus yards per game for Minnesota on offense, you would think the Golden Gophers would make some kind of drive. This is their first concerted drive. 14-3. Ohio State, time is called by who? The officials, obviously. Are they trying to determine whether or not that is a first down? Because they originally signaled it was a first down. Or did the ball get blown away?
What do you mean blown away?
Blown away
Don't we
by
have
the
enough
wind.
balls to play today?
By the wind. They now have the sideline marker turned to 2. So it is 2nd down, not first, and that much to go. They signaled first down. Then the lines person over there said, nope, you might not have it, and you don't have it by, what is it, the width of a thumb?
It's a game of smidgens.
Not inches. Dave Dials will be along at halftime with scores and highlights, and we will have the first half highlights and a little rock medley from the Ohio State Band. And we've got 2 minutes and 9 seconds until that halftime of playing time. Well, here, everybody likes 2nd down and short like this to try something big. Let's see if they simply go for the first down or try something big. Yep. Foggy's going to try for something big and puts it over and has his man. And that is Craig Otto, who lost the ball on a fumble before, but gets it down to the 11. 1st and 10.
Jim, you'd make an excellent wishbone quarterback or option quarterback. They were in the wishbone set. He had 2 men open. He had Otto open. Obviously, Ohio State trying to stop him for the 1st and 10 try. And he throws it across the middle to Otto. But Chris Gators, number 2, was on the outside, and he was even more open than Otto.
Gators is the man who's hurt on the field. And so we'll come back. But it is first down at the 16-yard line for Minnesota. They trail 14-3 toward the close of the first half.
Some people use alcohol and other drugs because they think it's the best way to fit in. But drinking and taking drugs make those people stand out. They look and act foolish. Think about it. You probably don't have much respect for people who make fools of themselves. I think that's a pretty good reason to leave that stuff alone. Stupidity never made anyone popular.
Something to think about. A message from the Big Ten Conference.
Big Ten football presents Dave Snell quarterbacking the Indiana Hoosiers against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Game day starts with the Big Ten today, Saturday, 12 Eastern, 11 Central.
Gators is up. To lose him is to lose the leading Big Ten kickoff returner, the leading Big Ten punt returner, and a man who's caught 7 passes this year for a touchdown, but he looks as though he'll be able to play. That's an observation from high in the press box. First down, Minnesota trailing 14-3 at the 11-yard line of Ohio State. L. Thompson down to the 9, and that is all. They may even mark it at the 10, call it 2nd and 1. And quickly, Minnesota calls timeout with 1:35 on the clock.
One of the difficulties that Minnesota has right now with 1:35 left to go in the half is that they're in the closed end of the stadium. The noise, it seems like it all kind of focuses about the 5-yard line, and the frustration of being able to concentrate. Foggy will have a more difficult time to change his play at the line of scrimmage, which he does a lot.
Minnesota. Northwestern, well, anybody that wins there is going to win his first Big Ten game of the year. Northwestern now leading. Clemson was down 30-0 at the half. Made it close, but the number 7 team has lost for the first time. Army was ahead, but Rutgers beat them by 13. Princeton and Harvard. Harvard gets the win by 5.
The women's basketball season tickets are currently on sale.
Carter along the sideline. John Gutekunst. Minnesota has 2 more timeouts left. On the near sideline, Ray Jackson and Chris Spielman, defensive stalwarts for Ohio State, have huddled with their defensive coordinator. Now remember, Minnesota has scored in their games thus far 24, 32, 30, 21, and 45. Last week only 17. Field goal was missed, and they lost their first of the year to Indiana. They only have but 3 now. And Ohio State fans have to be restless, for their team, as we said, has only scored 3 points in the second half of the last 2 games. They want a big cushion, not a small one. There's the noise Steve was talking about. Foggy looking for Otto. Touchdown! Foggy has thrown his 5th touchdown pass, and Otto has caught his 2nd touchdown pass of the year. Rolling out, the tight end was loose in the end zone.
Again, you put so much pressure when you're an option team. You've got to think first what your responsibilities are. See, it's a cutback type play. You see Spielman, he's out of position, and then Foggy is able to go right and find Otto. Boy, really, no one really picked him up. You've got to have William White, their 37, get a little bit more aggressive, or David Brown, whichever it was of the 2, make the play on him, and he was not there.
Gutekunst can take his team to the locker room, barring a last-minute-and-a-half surge by Ohio State, which hasn't had a real drive yet. They are going for 2. At 14-9 to get them within a field goal if they can. Foggy throws the ball, and it is no good. And now, for the first time, we can really feel the rain beginning to come in, even to our booth. And we'll come right back with the closing moments of the first half of this Big Ten football. The score now 14-9, Ohio State.
Watch Mike McRae, 99 in the circle, obviously. Watch him put the pressure on Foggy from the back that really spoils the 2-point play attempt of Minnesota. Watch him just put pressure. Ricky a little bit more deliberate trying to throw the ball. His man was open. You've got to be quicker in throwing it. McRae was right there and spoiled the play.
You would have thought that Kummerow was the man who was open. He threw it right to him, but he couldn't hold on to it. McRae pressuring from the other side. Now Ohio State will be going into the win in this final minute and a half, but they do have the luxury of 3 timeouts if they are needed. Workman and Snow go deep. 8 plays, 75 yards. The big play was to Otto for a first down and then for the touchdown. And it only took them a little bit better than 2 minutes to do it. Lohmiller to kick off with a win behind him. And Workman and Snow will see this go out of the end zone in the rain. Alongside the playing field is John Snyder.
Situation is this: John Sullivan, the Ohio State linebacker who went out, has a sprained knee, but he probably will be back in the second half. Chris Gators, the outstanding receiver from Minnesota, went down. He's a little bit disoriented on the sidelines now. The doctor's still talking to him. He probably will be back after halftime, but no more in the first half. And yes, it is raining. The wind is a major factor in the south end of the stadium. There will be no such thing as a routine kick today, even with 15 minutes.
What did they do to your microphone, John? We could hear you, but a little interference there. Nothing wrong with your television sets at home. First down, Ohio State at the 20. And there's Cooper, and you may hear some boos. May hear some boos. Down at the 20, 1:30 to go, and they send the fullback up the middle.
Well, I said at the top of the program is that I really believe that Earl Bruce, his offensive coaches, are giving his football team the greatest opportunity to win, and that's their job. That's what they're paid to do. Earl Bruce, I think, and his offensive coaches have a very smart plan coming in the ball game. They're still searching for identity, and the frustration is don't do a dramatic departure with what's been good for you in the first half.
Well, Carlos Snow comes in and Gary Clift comes in, so that would indicate maybe they are going to do something other than run the ball. Pitching the ball back to Snow. Good play on the outside here by McCree, who strung that play out. It's 3rd down and long. Again, Dave Dials.
Thank you, Jim. Northwestern may win its first game of the season. Ira Adler, a 43-yard field goal, less than 2 minutes to play now. The Wildcats leading the Badgers of Wisconsin 27-24. Back to Columbus.
And our score with 45 seconds to go in the half, 14-9 Ohio State. They've got the ball, 3rd down, and about 2 to go inside their own 30-yard line. The Ohio State 2 scores set up by fumbles and a bumbled pitch-out attempt by Foggy. Minnesota drove for its touchdown as well as for its field goal. Tailback is Bryant. Bryant almost goes all the way. He could have gotten across the 40, maybe to the 50. We're waiting for him back there was Frank Jackson, the freshman, but he does get the first down. That'll stop the clock as they move the sticks. Putting the ball down on the 37-yard line.
8 yards, first down, Ohio.
Speaking of the youth of the defense of Minnesota, remember that Stasiak is a sophomore in the offensive line. Coles is a sophomore. Moxley's a sophomore. Bryant is a sophomore. Snow is a freshman. Well, there's some youth for the Buckeyes also. Pitch back to Bryant again. Good play there by Leverins, number 56, with Jackson, the cornerback. But Leverins is the man who made the play.
Defensive play by John Leverins.
John Leverentz's ability to run to the seams and to flow with the traffic is what makes him a special linebacker for Minnesota. See, he just takes such a direct angle at where the ball carrier is to anticipate where the angle the ball player is going to be, or the carrier, and where he's going to run. There's a frustrated fan. I can't believe they're booing. That just blows me away. It really does. This is a story, I'll tell it. Oklahoma's in the middle of their win streak, 47-game winning streak in the 50s. It's a situation where a New York writer comes to watch an Oklahoma game. They're playing Kansas State. Late in the game, Oklahoma takes out their best players, and they go to the 3rd team. And they started grumbling. Oklahoma's going to win the game convincingly. And the New York writer that came to do the story, Jim, made the comment, how much rice can a Chinaman eat? I mean, how much does it take to satisfy you people? And I've been in situations where we had great winning teams, and I just cannot believe that people don't understand the situation and what they're trying to accomplish offensively. And they boo. I can't believe it.
Well, you got to also look at the record. And we've said it before. They know the record here in Columbus, Ohio. Every year that Earl Bruce has been here, he's won at least 9 games. No other coach in the Big Ten can say that. And every year he has gone to a bowl game. But with the wind in his face like it is, and trying to put the ball up for grabs is a difficult thing to do.
Yes, when you've got an offense that's been struggling, you don't make them make mistakes or have frustrations. You don't put them in a problem situation.
2nd down and 10. He's got Workman in motion. He may try to do it here. Nope, he's going to hand the ball off to Bryant, and Bryant gets into the secondary, and down he goes. They'll stop the clock with 4 seconds to go to move the stakes. But he is still out at the 46-yard line of Minnesota. A long way to go. A lot of people playing deep center field on that play for Minnesota's defense.
And I'm sure now he'll take the chance. I'm sure now the situation, they'll take the chance. They got 1st and 10. They got 4 seconds to go. And they'll do something that they feel comfortable that will not be a big mistake play. But the throw interception will be a positive play.
Well, Gary Clift is in the lower part of your picture now at about the 50, huddling with the coaches. He will be coming in. He had those big catches last week against Purdue, and Vince Workman remains in. He's the man with all the speed, and Tupa is there also. So it could be this trio that tries to get something going.
And that's another another part of the problem. I mean, Gary Cliff is not a great speed receiver. He's 4'7", 4'8". They've got Alex Higdon, their tight end, is not great speed, 4'6", 4'7". Vince Workman, who everybody in the stadium wants to cover Vince Workman, so it's very difficult to get a big receiver down the field.
You forgot one man, Tony Cute, who didn't play last week because he had dropped a ball, one of the reasons why, against Indiana the week before. But he is in there right now. They said he had a good week of practice. His number is 22. So with 4 seconds to go in the half, 14-9 Ohio State. The ball is at the 49-yard line of Ohio State, and let's see what they will do what apparently will be their last play of this half. But I guarantee if they run it, they'll run off the field of booze. They will not run it. Tupa putting it up long, looking for Cute. The ball is batted away by McCree, number 3, as the half end. So they did go to Cute. Minnesota scored the last 9 points. It's a 5-point game at the end of the first half. Ohio State 14, Minnesota 9 here in Columbus.
Big Ten football is brought to you by True Value Hardware Stores. It's more than our name. It's our way of doing business. And by Budweiser. Beechwood Age with that clean, crisp taste. For all you do, this Bud's for you.
The first duty.
Teaching. If the measure of a university is the sum of its faculty talents, then consider the Ohio State faculty, more than 4,000 strong. They teach in nearly every conceivable academic area. And Ohio State's $350 million private fundraising campaign will create more than 80 new endowed faculty chairs and professorships, because at The Ohio State University, today's teaching ensures tomorrow's achievement.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Dials at our Big Ten studios in Champaign, Illinois. The score of our game, of course, here is Ohio State leading Minnesota at the half in Columbus by a score of 14-9. In the World Series, we promised you to keep you up to date on that. It's St. Louis 2 and Minnesota 2. They're now in the 3rd inning. Cardinals already have 5 hits in that. No, Kendo got the RBI that tied it for St. Louis. So stay with Big Ten football, and we'll keep you up to date on baseball. Purdue and Iowa, this one's a final. Iowa wins it by a score of 38-14. Hartlieb had 3 scoring passes in that game, and one of them was to Travis Watkins. It was a 55-yarder out of Iowa City. Chuck Hartlieb to Travis Watkins, 55 yards. That gave the Hawkeyes a 21-0 lead. Illinois and Michigan State, this is a final score now, 14-14. Illinois and Michigan State, 14-14. Illinois blocked at a field goal attempt of 28 yards by John Langlow at the gun to preserve the tie. Northwestern and Wisconsin, it's 27-24. Northwestern leading with a minute to play in that game, 27-24. Michigan scored 10 points after Indiana got off to a 7-0 lead, and Michigan leads at the half by a score of 10-7. Indiana off in front with a 12-yard scoring pass from David Schnell to Ernie Jones. And then Michigan came back. That first touchdown, incidentally, followed a block punt. Michigan came back. Demetrius Brown, number 6, to number 40, John Colasar, an 8-yard scoring pass. That made it 7-7. And a field goal now by Mike Gillette of 44 yards has Michigan in front 10-7. Nebraska having things all its own way against Kansas State, 35-3, third quarter. Mississippi State and Auburn are now second quarter. Auburn, ranked 6th in the country, leads 21-0. The biggest upset of the day. North Carolina State was out in front of Clemson 28-0, or 30-0. Clemson came back with 28 unanswered points, but that wasn't enough. North Carolina State wins it 30-28. Colgate and Syracuse, this is the final out. For the life of me, I'll never understand why Syracuse, leading as it was 49-0, would choose to kick a field goal to beat Colgate 52-6. I don't understand that. USC and Southern Cal, this is just over, and Notre Dame ranked 10th, coached by Lou Holtz, has defeated Southern Cal by a score of 26-15. Tony Rice, one of the touchdowns today for the Fighting Irish, a 26-yard scoring run that made it 10-7, final score 26-15. Kentucky has only defeated Georgia 3 times in 30 years. It did not happen today, although it almost did. Kentucky was leading 14-3 and then collapsed. Georgia's Bulldogs win it by a score of 17-14 on a Lars Tate's touchdown. Tennessee and Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech surprising Johnny Major's team in the fourth quarter, 29-15. Oklahoma State also being surprised by Missouri's Tigers. The score is 17-10 in the third quarter. South Carolina, 3 touchdowns by Harold Green in this one, 34-12 over East Carolina in the fourth quarter. This is a final. Pittsburgh defeats Navy by a score of 10-6. Craig Hayward, 100 yards plus for the 7th consecutive game. The Army loses today to Rutgers. The score in that was 27-14. And UTEP, off to its best start in 30 years, nonetheless losing to the Air Force this afternoon. The score 35-0. Bucknell has defeated Columbia by a score of 62-20. That means Columbia has now lost 37 consecutive football games. Eastern Michigan has defeated Western Michigan in a Mid-American Conference game. The score is 23-17, despite a record-setting performance by Western's quarterback Tony Kimbrough with 331 yards through the air. My alma mater loses again. Kent State defeats Ohio University at Athens in homecoming by a score of 24-10. Ohio U continues to turn the ball over. Ball State and Central Michigan in a Mid-American Conference game, and Ball State Cardinal leads by a score of 10-3 over the Chippewas in the fourth quarter. Miami of Ohio is playing Central Michigan. That's just underway. We're going to pause for a commercial timeout, and we'll be right back. Big Ten football highlights exciting Indiana with the Hoosiers' explosive offense taking the field against the Iowa Hawkeyes on Saturday. Quarterback Dave Snell rates with the nation's leaders in passing. He's a scoring threat on the ground as well. Quarterback Chuck Hartlieb has taken over the controls for Iowa. He has the Hawks airborne. He hits a bevy of receivers for long gains, including top rusher Kevin Harmon. Game day starts right here with the Big Ten today. Don't miss it Saturday, 12 Eastern, 11 Central.
From the first gray light of dawn to the last red glow of dusk, around the world, the sun never sets on a time, on a place that hasn't been influenced by the Big Ten universities and their graduates. In outer space, the Persian Gulf, drilling for offshore oil, exploring the mysteries of science, faculty and students of Big Ten universities blend brain power, research capability, skills and talents, devotion to excellence that spell a national leadership that's different and lasting. Athletic programs reflect the same kind of dedication to being the best. So whether it's early dawn or the fire of evening, around the world, the sun never sets on what the Big Ten means to the quality of life, made better by skills, academic innovation, and the positive values of intercollegiate competition. The Big Ten, unique, great, uniquely great.
Here's the final score in the Big Ten. Northwestern holds off Wisconsin and wins the game 27-24. West Virginia rallying today to beat Boston College by a score of 37-16. Charlie Bauman with 3 early field goals in that one. Houston and Arkansas in a Southwest Conference game, and Houston's Cougars lead 17-14. That's in the second quarter. Brown and Holy Cross a final by a score of 41-0. Another big day for Gordy Lockbaum. Now, turning to the Ivy League this afternoon. Harvard beating Princeton 24-19. Dartmouth playing Maxie Bond's Cornell team, and Cornell emerges with a victory 21-14. Penn and Yale. Penn was one of the early favorites, but Yale an upset winner today by a score of 28-22. How would you like it? Howard Schnellenberger and Jerry Faust going into today. These two great coaches, their team's combined record is 4-9-1. Schnellenberger beating Faust today 24-10 there in the third quarter. Here's a final from the Southwest Conference. TCU has defeated Baylor by a score of 24-0. Texas A&M. Jackie Sherrill, you know, they're hollering at him this year. He was brought down there for that big multi-million-dollar contract, and they says, Jackie, you don't have to win most of your games. You have to win them all. Well, he's lost already twice this season, but he's beating Rice today at the halftime by a score of 20-13. That's no big deal. Everybody beats Rice. Tulsa playing Texas Tech in a non-conference game today. Texas Tech is leading Tulsa by a score of 21-0. Two teams with a combined record going in today of 2-10. And Iowa State leading Kansas in the final quarter by a score of 35-14. Vanderbilt and Mississippi each winless in the Southeastern Conference starting today, and Ole Miss is leading Vanderbilt by a score of 13-0 there in the second quarter this afternoon. The Big Ten scoreboard as we have it right now. Northwestern has just defeated Northwestern 27-24 at the half at Bloomington before a sellout crowd and in a heavy downpour. Michigan is leading Indiana by a score of 10-7, the first time Indiana's been ranked since the 60s. And the game you're watching, Ohio State is leading Minnesota by a score of 14-9 there at the half. Earlier today, as you know, Iowa defeated Purdue by a score of 38-14, and Hayden Fry tells me that with 2 defeats, our Hawkeyes are still in it, he says. Illinois and Michigan State, 14-all, when Illinois blocked a last-second field goal by Michigan State. So you're up to date as far as the Big Ten is concerned. Jim Simpson, you're at Columbus, Ohio. What's the weather? We know the score. What do you predict for the second half?
The weather is still slightly rainy here, David, and the score, as you well know, is 14-9, and that makes the Ohio State fans very nervous, because we'll repeat again what happened in the last 2 weeks, and that is 3 points for Ohio State in 2 halves of play. But Steve Davis, as we turn now to what happened in the first half, Ohio State took advantage of a couple of misplays, the first of which was Otto caught a ball, fumbled it right to John Sullivan. Ohio State moved down, and then James Bryant took it in for the first score of the day.
Well, I think the real key in the ball game has been the fact that Minnesota came in, didn't think that they could make more than 1 turnover in the ball game, and that's been the frustration of Minnesota, at least offensively. But I really believe, Jim, that defense has not really made the mistakes or created the opportunities for their offense, at least when Minnesota's got the ball. I think Ohio State's offense lost momentum in the latter part of the first half.
Well, he certainly started out. Jamie Bryant, as we said, is the man that took the first ball in for a touchdown to make it 7-0. Our score at halftime is 14-9. Remember, they got the ball, as we said, from Otto, and then down and close from 3 yards out, the replacement for Workman when he went to flanker, Jamie Bryant.
Well, Jamie Bryant really is a fine, strong inside runner, and he's able just to go behind the big offensive line of Ohio State for the first touchdown.
Well, you were an option quarterback. You tell me what happened on this next play by Ricky Foggy that set up the second Ohio State touchdown.
Well, Ricky Foggy made the most disastrous mistake you can make as an option quarterback. Make your decision. Do not be indecisive. You've got to do something. Turn inside. Do something. Don't just let that situation happen. Kumaro was able to play both the pitch and the quarterback, and it was a disastrous turnover. Confidence lost by Foggy. Momentum gained by Ohio State.
And they went on to score Carlos Snow on his 19th birthday. But then Foggy did something right. On 2nd down and inches, he went for the bomb, and it paid off.
Well, they got him in a key down and distance situation. Ohio State's thinking run for the 1st and 10, and he finds his tight end, Craig Otto, across the middle. No one's there. Where are the linebackers? Where's everybody located? And he's able to make a significant gain to set up the touchdown.
And then the second touchdown of the day for, I should say the first touchdown of the day, the only one of the day for Minnesota, the same combination. Foggy to Otto in the end zone.
Well, when you're in the defensive set for Ohio State, you've got to think run. You've got to be concerned about the focus of their offense is the running game. They do it great. It's a play-action pass. Foggy's away from the pressure. He's got plenty of time. No one breaks on the receiver, Otto, and it's just too much too late.
And they went for the 2 points, and the ball was no good as Foggy was pressured from behind by McRae, and Kumar almost caught the 2-point event. Now, first organized back in 1878 under the direction of Dr. John Woods with Rich Park, the drum major. This is the Ohio State Marching Band, the pride of the Buckeyes.
The jukebox features included Downtown, My Girl, and Yesterday.
Big Ten football is brought to you by Miller Lite. For great taste, there is only one light beer. And by Isuzu, the biggest car company in the world.
Welcome back to Ohio Stadium. We begin the second half. The Buckeyes leading the Golden Gophers by the score of 14-9. And remember, each week on Big Ten football, we selected Miller Lite, RCM lineman of the prior week. And last week's honor goes to Purdue's Fred Strickland, who led the Purdue defense with 15 tackles against Ohio State and who started the day leading the Big Ten in tackles. The Miller Brewing Company and RCM will make a donation in the name of Fred Strickland to the Purdue University General Scholarship Fund. Ohio State back on the field, and this is what happened in the first half statistically.
Well, I think what you've got to note is look at what Minnesota has not been able to accomplish in the first half. They've not possessed the ball adequate amount of time to do what they need to do. Their turnovers, their total yards, really struggling.
And I noted at the end of one quarter, Steve, Minnesota had 8 yards. They have over 100 at the end of the half. Let's go to Dave Dials.
Here's a situation in the World Series. It's tied 2-all, 4th inning, but the Cardinals have a couple of runners on with no out in the 5th inning. Let's check the games that are going to be played tonight around the country, and if you get a chance, go out and see one of these games. Oklahoma, #1, is playing at home tonight. Cincinnati is home against Miami, and California plays at UCLA. And a lot of the top teams in the country, of course, are idle today and have the day off. Among them, Penn State, LSU, Florida, Alabama, and Penn State. Oregon in the Pac-10. We're concerned about that because of the Pac-10 Big Ten relationship. Oregon has a field goal and leads Stanford by a score of 3-0. That's in the second quarter. This is a final now. South Carolina has defeated East Carolina 34-12. South Carolina ranked 20 and may move up. Here's a final score. Duke was leading Maryland by a score of 22-7. Maryland came back and wins the game by a score of 23-22. The longest winning streak in the nation, or unbeaten string, I should say. Going into today, Augustana unbeaten in its last 56 games and looks to make it 57 by defeating Milligan today in the fourth quarter by a score of 35-14. My favorite school of all time, Slippery Rock, is losing to California of Pennsylvania 18-17. They're in the fourth quarter. And there's one team in the United States still playing single-wing football. That's Keith Piper's Denison team. And Denison took it on the chin today from Ohio Wesleyan up in Delaware, Ohio, by a score of 29-13. All right, this is Big Ten headquarters in Champaign-Urbana. Let's go back to Columbus and Jim Simpson.
All right, Dave, and Chip Lohmiller will kick off in a moment, but let's go first to John Snyder.
Jim, the word from the Ohio State locker room is the Ohio State coaches said that, yes, they feel fortunate to be leading by 5 points because both of their touchdowns set up by Minnesota mistakes. And his defensive coordinator, Gary Blackney, just told me, he said, Ricky Foggy's everything he's supposed to be, isn't he? And he's the guy they're going to be looking for in the second half. The point I tried to make at the end of the first half is there will be no routine kicks when you're at the south end of the field today in terms of even a point after a very short field goal. The wind is very much a factor down here at this end.
All right, and keep in mind as the wind blows the ball off the tee one more time that in the final quarter, Ohio State will be operating with the wind at its back. So it is time for Foggy and company to make hay while the sun shines or while the rain pours on Ohio Stadium. Minnesota with just 8 yards in the first quarter and well over 132 yards total in the second quarter. Workman back deep with Snow. Lohmiller kicking off with the wind. Snow in the end zone. Workman says, you stay right there. It'll come out to the 20-yard line. First and 10 for Ohio State. Defensively, Gary had one defensive tackle out of Burnsville, Minnesota. In the middle is Doug Mueller. And on the other side is Trent Tripp of Mondavi, Wisconsin, all 280 pounds. Linebackers Ron Getz on one side. Terry Horitzik in the middle, along with, Joe Leverance, what a half he had, and Bonner, the other outside linebacker. It's back to Bryant, trying to get outside and get maybe a yard, and that is all.
James Bryant, the ball carrier.
Again, back to the Minnesota defense, which played rather well. The other linebackers we said is Brian Bonner out of Minneapolis. Out of the secondary, Charles McCree made a great play in the first half. At one corner, Frank Jackson, the freshman, at the other corner. And Warren Berry is the free safety, leading in interceptions, and David Williams starting over Craig Welter today. Williams, number 48, the strong safety. Second down and 9 to go. Workman, Tupa still has the ball. Goes, and that's Higdon again. First down at the 35-yard line. Alex Higdon has some linebackers, including Leverins, around him, but makes the catch.
The defensive play by
Ohio State's offense, Tupa, the quarterback, Bryant and Cooper, the running backs, Workman and Cliff, the wide receivers, Higdon, the tight end. And that patched up offensive line, Stasiak, Coles, Uhlenheg, Zakharoff, and Moxley. First down, 36-yard line. 14-9, Ohio State. Cooper from the 36 to the 39, and that is not, well, that is all he'll get. World Series, it is now 3-2 in the top of the fourth. John Tudor has allowed a couple of runs, and Straker, the 29-year-old rookie, has now given up his third. Our broadcast presented by authority of the Big Ten Conference, intended solely for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or the use of this broadcast without the express prior written consent of the Big Ten Conference is prohibited. Second down, 7 to go. Goes to the ball almost on the 40. Mark. Snow. Looked like he lost the football there for a moment.
Carlos Snow, the ball
as he spun around and came back to the 45-yard line, but obviously he held on to it. And it is second down, make that third down and short.
Carlos Snow is about 5'7". They list him at 5'8", but he's really more like 5'7", and he will drop the football. I think it was dropped as a result of hitting Higdon, the tight end. Higdon actually was just standing there trying to make a block, and Carlos kind of scraped him as he went by, and the ball came free.
Third down and a yard. Bryant, he's not going to get it. Not going to get it. Doesn't get close to getting back to the line of scrimmage. A big play there by Horitzik and Leverins, the two inside linebackers, 93 and 56.
There's John Leverins again, number 56. I promise you, Minnesota's doing an outstanding job of keeping Ohio State away from Leverins. They're protecting him with their front people. Tripp, Mueller, Had. There's what Leverins did in the first half. 8 solos, 7 assists, 15 tackles. Not a bad day's work in one half.
And remember, Strickland had 15 tackles to be our lineman of the week a week ago. That was in the entire game. Tupa kicking into the wind. It'll ball will go up, and this will carry, it looks like, to the end zone. The nation's leading punter punched that ball away into a strong win into the end zone. 11:51 to go. Third quarter. Scores the same, 14-9, Ohio State. Now Minnesota with its first chance of the second half. But first, Earl Bruce about his quarterback, Tom Tupa.
Well, Tom is an exceptionally fine athlete. He's punted well for us. He's had to wait his turn after Kersadis, so he's been handicapped, I think, a little bit by the inexperienced receivers, but he's got a great arm, and we're looking for better performances out of Tom Tupa in the future.
Tell you what, you can't get much better than leading the nation punting, but he's talking about quarterbacking, of course. First down, Roselle Richardson, flag goes down, looks like movement.
The ball carrier.
And it'll be 1st and 15 should Ohio State take that. Very few penalties. Ray Holloman, defensive tackle for Ohio State today at the left side. In the middle is Mike Sullivan, his brother of John, and Ken Coleman, the freshman, over on the right side. Camaro, the linebacker, big man, good man. Chris Spielman, the consensus All-American, on the inside along with Fred Ritter, but today, remember, John Sullivan started over him. And Mike McCray on the right side. William White, one corner. Zach Dumas for Rogan at the other corner. David Brown and Ray Jackson, your safeties. Jackson with a big day last week, including a blocked punt against Purdue. 1st and 15. Foggy back, has his man, and there's a good catch by Otto. First down out near the 35-yard line. Wrestling with him all the way as an Ohio State man, but Otto comes up with the catch. For Minnesota, Foggy, the quarterback, Thompson and Richardson, the running backs, Carter and Bruce, the wide receivers, and Otto, who caught the ball, the tight end. That line, Recton, Anderson, Williams, Wolko, and LaMotta. 14-9, Ohio State, 11:15 to go, third quarter. First down, Minnesota. Foggy still with the ball. The pitch to Thompson, and Thompson is hit by McRae on the far side. Gain of a yard.
Minnesota is being able to take advantage of Ohio State in several areas. Remember last week, Ohio State was more in a blitz-type package against Purdue, more of a passing-type offense. Option football causes you to become assignment-oriented. People have certain responsibilities. You have to be more conservative. That's why coaches hate to defend against option football, because of what it does. It takes away your aggressiveness. It puts you on the defense, on the reaction.
2nd and 8. Foggy being chased by Kummerow from behind. A flag goes down as Foggy gets across the 40-yard line. And you could probably look for a legal block or holding on something like that. But it is against Ohio State, according to our referee, Gil Marchman. Now he has changed it again.
Chris Spillman's in a frustrating position. He can't be as freelance as he has been in the past. He's got to be more assignment-oriented. He gets cut right there by Roselle Richardson. Put down, good, clean block, but the frustration of Chris Spillman of not being able to do the things that he does so well to react. He's got to be more conservative in his play today, which is certainly got to be frustrating for a type of player that Chris Spillman is.
Referee Gil Marchman has to correct himself again. It's not against Ohio State. It's against Minnesota. So they're going back the other way. St. Louis is broken on top now by 2. And remember, as you look at what happened with Oquendo driving in an important run, if St. Louis wins, the World Series screeches to a halt. And St. Louis, without Jack Clark and without Pendleton to play every day, will have won. But in the Metrodome, do not count the Twins down until they say they're out. 2nd down and 17 to go. The ball back now on the 27. Foggy looking and delivering, and the ball is intercepted by White. His 4th interception of the year and the 3rd turnover of the day that Ohio State has picked off. And they've got the ball at the 28 of Minnesota. Remember White against West Virginia in our first televised game? 3 were picked off, 1 for a touchdown, and he picks off his 4th, and he hardly practiced this week because of a concussion.
Ricky Foggy gets plenty of depth. I want to see why the ball floats on him a little high. The ball's not as a tight spiral. He overthrows the intended receiver. William White, the character, the glue of the secondary, is able to make the catch. Here's a guy that started for 4 years, a 3.4 student in metallurgical engineering, the talent of the defensive secondary. Big play.
3rd turnover. They've taken advantage of each of the first 2 for 7 points. Bryant is going to be dragged down from behind, and there is Sunvold again, the redshirt freshman, playing that left side of the front 3 out of Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And that is a big loss.
They love Mike Sunvold and Gary Hadd and all those kids in there. They like Sunvold. He's a freshman, a player of the future for them. He's a 440-pound bench press kind of kid. The coaches said he hasn't gotten wide-eyed yet. Oh, there's my brothers. I didn't know they got here today.
2nd down, 14. Tupa back, throwing, and underthrows his man cutting across the middle, and that was Gary Clift. It is 3rd down and 14. Here again is Dave Dials.
Jim, Michigan has just missed a field goal, still leads Indiana by a score of 10-7 there in the 3rd quarter, and this one's the final. 2nd-ranked Nebraska has defeated Kansas State by a score of 56-3. That's 19 victories in a row for the Huskers over K-State. Back to you, Jim.
All right, Dave, you will see Steve Davis break out in a sweat on the 21st of November when Oklahoma plays Nebraska.
That's not a big deal, Dave. I mean, beating Kansas State, Nebraska.
3rd down and 14 from the 32. Tupa puts it up, has his man work, or rather cute. The freshman steps out of bounds inside the 10 at the 8. And what a moment for the freshman Cute out of Columbus in that he dropped a big ball against Indiana, did not play last week, and catches this pass.
I really appreciate the compassion of the Ohio State offensive coaches. Cube came into the season too early. They put too much pressure on him, and they backed away from him a little bit to give him more confidence. Had a great week of practice, inexperienced, a redshirt freshman, great speed, and picks up a big confidence builder for him, as well as giving Ohio State momentum.
Ohio State has been triggered to each of its scores by turnovers and may get another one. Here's Bryant. Bryant closed down as he gets to the 7-yard line. It is second down. Remember, Iowa has defeated Purdue today. Northwestern has won its first today. Indiana and Michigan are playing today. Michigan State was tied today by Illinois. And we look ahead to seeing Indiana next week at Iowa. That will be a big game at noon Eastern, 11 Central Time. Carlos Snow checks in. He already has one of the 2 Ohio State touchdowns. Workman in motion on 2nd down and 6. Carlos Snow. Carlos Snow will score. That 19th birthday looks better and better for Carlos Snow. His first 2 touchdowns of his collegiate career. And every touchdown set up by a turnover.
Number 13, Scott Powell will hold, and number 12, Matt Prince will kick.
This is for 40 in a row. Matt France, and he's got it. We'll be back in a moment with more Big Ten football from Columbus, Ohio, where Ohio State now leads by 12, 21-9. Back at Ohio Stadium, where Carlos Snow has put the Buckeyes on top, 21-9. And again, we'll repeat that Ohio State, all 3 touchdowns have been preceded by a turnover by Minnesota. Morrow to kick off. And no matter what Hayden Fry says at Iowa, I'm sure he believes it. It's still a long way back from losing 2 games in the Big Ten Conference to go all the way to the Rose Bowl. And the loser today will have those 2 games in the loss column. Michigan State averted that by tying Illinois and very nearly beat Illinois. But a 28-yard field goal attempt was blocked in the final seconds. Morrow to kick off. The wind on occasion has been a paradox. We say blowing from right to left, but sometimes you can look at the flags at one end and it's blowing right to left, and look down to your left and it seems to be blowing the other way. But right now it's blowing right in the face of the kicker, Morrow, and he's going to have a man hold on to that ball because he keeps blowing off the tee. And with Gators hurt, it is Gary Couch who will return. They've lost their Big Ten kickoff and punt returner for at least this play. May come back later. They'll keep it along the ground. They'll give it to Couch, who takes it at the 13. Falls down as he gets across the 20.
The kickoff is returned by number 21.
To illustrate the touchdown, that's Greg Zakharoff. He's the right guard. He's obviously in the circle. Watch him make the play on John Leverance, number 56, the linebacker. You'll see him come in, and then all of a sudden Leverance doesn't realize that Zakharoff's there, and he gets buried and then puts the birthday boy Carlos Snow into the end zone. You know, that's all Carlos needed. He needed to turn 19. Here's another side view. Watch Leverance again, 56, the linebacker, and watch Zakharoff just kind of pop in out of nowhere. He's trying to make the tackle, and there he comes around the block of Higdon and literally buries John Leverance.
We have yet another man hurt, this time from Minnesota, down at the 25-yard line. 8:48 to go, 21-9 Ohio State. Here's Dave Dials.
Okay, Jim, Oklahoma State, trailing Missouri by a score of 17-7, has come back to extract a victory in the Big 8 by a score of 24-20. In another Big 8 game between 2 of the also-rans, Iowa State has defeated Kansas by a score of 42-28. Let's go back to Columbus, Ohio.
That is Rosell Richardson being helped up. He is the starting fullback. He was out ahead of Gary Couch, blocking. They'll get him off the field. 5:33 to go. Third quarter, 21-9. Ohio State leads Minnesota.
Game ticket must.
Big Ten football presents Dave Snell quarterbacking the Indiana Hoosiers against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Game day starts with the Big Ten today, Saturday, 12 Eastern, 11 Central.
Indiana and Iowa next week. But right now, Minnesota down by 12 as they are. First down and throw in 21. Midway through the third quarter with the wind at their back. Harold Thompson has not handled the ball too much. But there gets across the 25 to about the 26-yard line. Spielman is the man who made the stop.
Was the ball carrier. Defensive play by number 36.
Indiana today losing at the moment by 3 to Michigan. Iowa today, big winner over Purdue, 11 o'clock Central. That's 11 a.m. Central, not 11 p.m., folks, please. Stephen, I can't stay up that late. Second down. And Thompson barely gets across the 25. It'll be third and about 5 to go.
Defensive play by Ray Solomon.
Minnesota really has to get something going here. Although the way they can score in a hurry. Remember the Northwestern game, not to confuse the Northwestern defense with that of Ohio State, but plays of 80, 72, and 60 all in the fourth quarter. They are explosive. But they've been contained fairly well today. Make no mistake. Foggy throws to the sidelines, and unable to catch it is Bruce. That right tackle of Minnesota started to move, realized that he might be called, and then when the ball was snapped, he never made a move to block or anything else. It's fourth down.
It's so difficult when you've had a pass intercepted to come back and throw with authority. You're just concerned about it. You're overly careful. Sometimes you guide the ball, and Ricky did not deliver a good pass on that play.
Herbal to kick the ball away to Vince Workman. He is kicking with the wind. Oh, good bounce here for Minnesota down inside the 15-yard line. Workman let it go, chose not to field it, and it gets down inside the 15-yard line where Tom Tupa and company come back on field. We're in a very light rain now. It has rained harder earlier today. 7:22 to go, third quarter. Ohio State up by 21-9. Michigan continues to lead Indiana 10-7 in the third quarter.
59 yards.
Auburn without Jeff Berger, their quarterback, out of this game for possible violations of the NCAA. And Arizona State losing to Oregon State. Missouri had Oklahoma State all the way, but not at the end. Woody Woodenheifer's group. Kansas losing to Iowa State. Ball State over Central Michigan. That's the final. Kuba out here to Cliff. Cliff is hit by McCree at the 25-yard line, but that's enough for a first down. Clift makes his first catch of this day, and Charles McCree put him down at the 25.
Now Ohio State can afford to take a few more chances to get a little bit more out on the edge. They're in control of the ball game. Play action pass. Tom Tupa knows that he can throw it away if the defender is too close to his intended receiver. These are all confidence trying to create that image and that character, that offense that they've not been able to do consistently this year.
And Cliff, after all these years, is making his first start today. Carlos Snow, the freshman, out near the 29-yard line. Leverance in on the tackle, along with Steve Rodas, number 97.
We've talked about John Leverance a lot today. Again, you see how free he is to roam. So he's got to be able to make tackles. The key is if you're going to free him up and if you're going to commit people to protecting him, he's got to make tackles. And so he's doing what his job and assignment is.
Second down and 5, 6:24 to go, third quarter. Ohio State by 12. Flags go down as Snow goes down.
Carlos Snow, the ball carrier.
Horitzik, the first to hit him, the inside linebacker, number 93.
Play by Terry Horitzik. Flag on the play.
Motion charged against Ohio State. Let's go down to John Snyder.
Jim, the injury situation is this. Roselle Richardson, the fullback from Minnesota, has a sprained left ankle. Looks to be pretty bad. They're going to tape it up and see if he can go back in the ball game. He's going to try. John Sullivan, the Ohio State linebacker, injured his knee in the first half, will not be back. He has strained ligaments. And the big news from Minnesota's point of view, Chris Gators has a slight concussion, could conceivably play, but he probably will not play. So that's one of Minnesota's big weapons out.
Wouldn't like to take the chance with that. We had 2 concussions last week on Ohio State. William White, who came back to play, and Everett Ross, who went to the hospital. In the World Series, top of the 5th. St. Louis 4, Minnesota 2. If the Cardinals win, they win the World Championship. 2nd down and about 10 to go. Here's Tupa after the fake to Snow, stopping, and he'll be hit. Looked as though he wanted to throw, and then suddenly realizes Leverins had him, that he was across the line of scrimmage. So he hauled the ball in again and picked up a couple of yards. It's 3rd down. It's Gary Clift. Came as a quarterback. Check it, that's Tuba. Clift is in the huddle. And there's Leverins. Leverins was behind Strickland and Spielman before today, but he's got 20 total tackles today. He may move up into the lead or close to it. 3rd and long. Tuba back. Throws it out over the middle. That's Cooper, the fullback, and he's got the 1st down. George Cooper, and they're not booing. They're saying coo, coo, as George gets to the 41-yard line. And more importantly for the Buckeyes, they hold on to the football and have another 1st down. Indiana has scored and gone ahead of Michigan. And if Michigan should lose, that would be the Wolverines' 2nd loss in the Big Ten. Who would have thought it? Not over yet. Arizona State has come back to tie Oregon State at 7. Cooper on an option to Snow, gets from behind, and Dave Williams in front make the stop at the line of scrimmage. 4:45 left in the 3rd quarter. 21-9 Ohio State.
Tremendous effort by David Williams, number 48. He's a walk-on player playing the safety position, physical, tough. Took on the lead block on the option. Right now, let's watch John Leverins, the linebacker. He's the one that was injured on the play. He's getting tied up there by Stasiak, 79. His knee buckled underneath him, looks like. Fell over Carl Cole, 66. Looks like he rolled into him, and there he lays.
Academic, all Big Ten biology major. Redshirt sophomore out of Iowa. And with 20 tackles before that one, in which he assisted David Williams, that's 21. And let's see how well he walks off the field.
This video is a tape about Ohio State's perfect football season of 1954 and is narrated by Woody himself. If interested
this year, well, let's watch again.
There's Carl Coles, number 66. He's the left guard. He will roll over the top of the knee of John Leverins right there, and will cause him to buckle. See his right knee go underneath him.
2nd down and 9. That man should not have caught it. That is a lineman, Zakharov. We'll check on that. Let's go to Dave Dials.
The go-ahead touchdown in rainy Bloomington over Michigan. It's 14-10 now, 3rd quarter. Dave Schnell, who earlier passed 11 yards to Ernie Jones for Indiana's 1st touchdown, takes it on himself this time. He goes in from the 3. Indiana leading Bo Schembechler's Wolverines 14-10, 3rd quarter, back to Columbus.
All right, it's 3rd and 6 as the ball apparently was deflected off a defensive man. So Zakharov makes his 1st catch of the year and maybe of his career. It was a legal catch. 3rd and 6. Tuba throws. Workman's there. 1st down, 44-yard line, Ohio State. Tackle was made by Max Stevens, who is filling in for Leverins, along with David Williams.
This is the tempo that Ohio State wants to create, to be able to play power football, gain the lead and confidence, and then go to other areas of the game in the attack. Control you. Vince Workman, what really made it happen, Tupa's getting a good, quick drop. Linebackers are dropping much to imitate what Tupa's doing, and then he's finding the intermediate receiver.
First down from the 44. Ohio State likes this. This drive started from within their own 15, and this is the second half when they've not done well. Carlos Snow, look at this kid run. He just steps away from everybody and finally is dragged down. Fumble is picked up. Let's see what they call it. They're back at the 19, pointing down at the ground there. And the ball is going to belong to Ohio State there at the 19. First down.
You can't touch what you can't see, and you can't tackle what you can't catch. Watching Carlos Snow being able to use his balance, his speed, all the right things. Ohio State's been looking for someone that could be the big play man in terms of running the football. Maybe they found it in their birthday boy.
And good call by the officials. He was on the ground before the ball popped loose. Here is Bryant. Ran into the back of his own man and then picks up a yard or two. 21-9. 21-9. Ohio State, 2:40 to go, third quarter.
Look at the end of the play. Let's see what caused the fumble.
I'm sorry, number 37, Brown Getz.
Down right there with his knee.
He was down.
Officials timeout.
Well, if that Indiana score holds up, Steve, they will be the only undefeated and untied team in the Big Ten, as Michigan State was tied today. And, of course, we'll follow Indiana win, lose, or draw to Iowa next week. This is before the day. Michigan State has been tied today. Indiana is winning, and if Michigan should lose, they would have that big second loss in Big Ten conference play. And the same goes for Minnesota, Ohio State, whoever should lose this. And at the moment, Ohio State not only leads by 12, but is inside the 20-yard line of Minnesota. There's yet another man down. That's Trent Tripp, a junior out of Wisconsin, playing for Minnesota. On the ground at the 18-yard line. Lots of injuries.
What's happened today, Jim? Let's look at our Big Ten games today.
Well, today, as we said, Iowa clobbered Purdue. Michigan State tied, and the field goal was blocked at 28 yards. It could have won it for them with Illinois. Northwestern won its first. Indiana is leading Michigan, and with more football, Dave Dials.
And just in case, Jim, you're looking forward to what might happen on New Year's Day in Pasadena, here are the Pac-10 scores. Oregon State and Arizona State are deadlocked, 7-all. They're in the second quarter. A bit of a surprise. The Ducks of Oregon leading the Cardinal of Stanford 10-0. They're now in the third quarter. And Washington State leading Arizona by a score of 14-7. They're in the second quarter. Back to Columbus.
Where the raindrops are so big, David, it almost looks like snow flurries. With a second down and 9 to go, and Trent Tripp, the 284-pound junior defensive tackle, is going off the field. That will bring in Ross Uckelberg, a redshirt junior who weighs 260. His number is 90. He'll play that right tackle spot. Matlock is the fullback for Ohio State. Tupa throws for Workman and overthrows Workman. Double coverage there. The ball was overthrown. It's third down.
Workman, incomplete.
That wind, Steve, you figure it out for me. Now it looks like it's blowing strongly from right to left, but also from left to right. I can't figure out where it meets and where it changes. I don't know where the advantage is anymore.
I promise you, I'm not a weatherman. I haven't been able to figure it out at all. You know what's really happened to Minnesota defensively? They came into the ball game having to be so dependent upon their offense. Their offense has put them into duressful situations where there's been a lot of stress, and the defense has to have better opportunities, better field position to work, rather than the things that have happened to them today.
This is the first real drive for Ohio State. Tupa fires. Flag is down as Cliff catches the ball. And this may be brought back. Flag down at the 20-yard line. And it'll be motion. So they'll call that back and make it third down and long. Third down and 14. Ohio State in this second half with its touchdown by Snow has scored 4 more points than they've scored in any of the 2 prior second halves. It's still not a big productive second half, and that was set up by the William White interception. Now Ohio State is trying to make a drive that is for real, starting from within their own 15-yard line. There are the statistics and the score and the time left in the 3rd quarter. For both teams. Tuba's got lots of time and fires it, and they're going to throw a flag. McCree ran right up the back of Workman. On 3rd and 14, pass interference.
Well, Minnesota felt like they had to take some sort of a chance. They went into a blitz package, what they don't like to do. Workman is working man on Charles McCree. He's the only veteran in the secondary right there, and no doubt about it, he comes all over the back of Workman. No way that Workman had a chance. He was impeding the ability of the receiver to catch the ball, and yet this is your most solid defensive back making a mistake that will put Minnesota in even more dire straits.
Still talking things over with Tupa. The Minnesota defense is already within their own 5-yard line. They'll place the ball down at the 8, where it'll be 1st and goal to go. Well, this the Buckeyes and their fans have to feel pretty good about, should they score, Steve, because for the first time in a long while in the second half, they've taken the ball inside the 15, and they moved all the way down where it's 1st and 8. And now the Cardinals are, let's see, at the top of the 5th inning, not too far away from yet another world championship. If there is dominance in baseball lately, you can hardly say there's been, the Cardinals can say, look at us. Snow puts his head down, gets to the 5. 2nd down and goal to go. 2 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Minnesota started with its best start since 1960, then lost when a Low Miller field goal was wide last week. Lost by a point to Indiana, which is beating Michigan today. But today, Ohio State, thanks to 3 turnovers plus this drive, have virtually dominated this game in the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Blitz is on. Snow. 3rd touchdown of the day on his birthday. We keep saying his birthday, but he keeps scoring the touchdowns. I think the coaches were right, Steve, when they said we will see a lot of Carlos Snow today. And it'll take all of that top offense in the Big Ten to get Minnesota back into this ball game now. Following a point after, they will be down by 19 points with little more than a quarter to go. Matt France. There is his 4th of the day, his 41st in succession, and we'll come back with more Big Ten football in a moment. The score now here in Columbus, Ohio, the Buckeyes 28, the Golden Gophers 9. You take it.
Okay, we're back. Watch John Leverance, 56, the linebacker. He's got to take a chance. Minnesota's trying to make something happen at the goal line. He's on a blitz. He's taken out completely. And then Brian Bonner gets tied up right there by the tight end. And then watch Cooper is making a block and is able to put Snow into the end zone. There's George Cooper making a great block to give Snow that little cushion he needs to get into the corner of the end zone. Again, John Leverance, they've got to take chances. They're not playing very well defensively. They've got to make something happen and maybe get a play. John Leverance puts his head down, takes himself out. You got to keep your head up, John. You've done such a great day, but he just really played give up in that situation, buried himself, hoping the guy was coming his area.
Moxley had a gift block right there. He ran right into him. But there's your 85-yard drive. That's the best of the day for Ohio State, using nearly 6 minutes before Snow scored his 3rd touchdown of the day. O'Morrow to kick off into the wind. And again kicks it along the ground into the wind. Fumbled down there by Minnesota and finally fallen on by Minnesota as Les O'Hara, defensive back, falls on it. Gee, what a day for Minnesota. Let's go to Dave Dials.
13 minutes left in the Michigan-Indiana game, and the Hoosiers are inside Michigan territory, inside the 45, and leading the Wolverines by a score of 14-10. Let's go back to Jim Simpson.
Where, Dave, Ohio State fans must feel the Buckeyes are going to do it in the second half. It is raining extremely hard, and a lot of fans are saying, we have had enough. Up by, if the result is different, we want to stay in the rain and see it anyway. Let's get out of here. And so a lot of them are leaving. Here's Foggy throwing the football. No good. A lot of red around there, including one man in the gold of Minnesota, and that's Jason Bruce. Georgia Tech lost to Tennessee. Tennessee rebounding from its loss to Alabama of a week ago. Alabama idle today. North Carolina State led by 30 at the half and won by 2. There go all the folks leaving here. Syracuse. Schedule is pretty good for the Big Orange. 52-6, coming on the heels of the big win over Penn State. 2nd down 10. Darrell Thompson. Darrell Thompson is going to get the first down. Dragged down by the good, strong safety Ray Jackson. Jackson last week against Purdue had 10 tackles, his career best, 2 sacks, and blocked a punt.
13 yards, first down.
There's someone who is not feeling that good along the Minnesota bench.
Thompson's only carried the ball 13 times for 56 yards today, and I think that's been part of the key to the success against Minnesota. They put a lot of pressure on Foggy, and he's had to throw it, and they've got away from the option game.
Last minute of play in the 3rd quarter. Foggy goes deep for Otto. Otto's got the first down at the 30-yard line of Ohio State as the Golden Gophers come back with a little bit better than a quarter to play. Otto's been a big man.
It's premature for Ohio State to consider the victory and go home with the fans. They got to go ahead and play the 4th quarter. Foggy can make big plays as we saw in the Northwestern game. Here's Otto, the tight end, a 204-pound guy, goes across the middle and nobody picks him up.
Michael Baker, number 16, comes in as a wide receiver for Minnesota. On first down, little delay to Darrell Thompson, pulled out from behind by Holloman, the senior tackle out of Holland, Michigan.
Thompson was the ball carrier.
Thompson has not had the big day. Holloman, number 55, playing in that front 3 with Sullivan, a junior, and Coleman, a freshman.
There's a good reason why he hasn't had that kind of day, because in an option attack, you just try to control and play assignment football, so he's not been a featured player today.
2nd down, 11 to go. Ball on the 32. Foggy looking. The ball was up for grabs across the way, intended for Jason Bruce, and the quarter is over. Minnesota's got 15 minutes to get it done if they're to do it. Ohio State leads 28-9 at the end of 3. Card all of you in Minnesota. Your Golden Gophers may be on the short end of a score here in football, but the Twins with Gaetti and Puckett have fought back and tied the World Series 6 game at 5-all. We begin the 4th quarter. Foggy has a man open, but it's an Ohio State man. That's McRae, the outside linebacker. That's the 4th turnover. Foggy threw it right to McRae. Nobody else within 5 yards or more.
A lot of clutter around Ricky Foggy where he's trying to throw the ball. Is that Spillman on the blitz? Someone's on a blitz right there, and so he's throwing under duress and pressure, and then he throws it, a floater again to McRae, 99, good speed, has had a great preseason. Boy, he's matured into the position the coaches believe in. He looks like a running back. 3rd year at his position.
And down to near the 35, 45-yard line. Let us take time out. Someone's hurt again. 14:48 to go. We'll check on who it is in a moment. 28-9, Ohio State. The Buckeyes have the ball. Dennis Carter, a wide receiver, is the man who was hurt, and he's trying to walk it off on the far sides there. The junior wide receiver out of Miami. Ohio State's got the ball 1st and 10 at their own 44.5-yard line and leading by 19. That offense wants more. You can bet on that. Ball knocked down, intended for Cooper just over the line of scrimmage.
Tupa's pass intended for George.
Look at Ohio State. They're having one of their most productive days offensively and certainly in all categories. They're doing a good job as you look at what they're doing. And then just the ineffectiveness of Minnesota continues, and the turnovers is the most critical of the problems that they've had in terms of statistical analysis. They came into the ball game believing that one turnover was about all they could max out. They couldn't put their defense in pressure, and that's what exactly has happened today.
They've had 4 turnovers, 3 through the first 3 quarters, but McRae has just intercepted. As Cooper, first down to the 45-yard line. Well, maybe it's not a first down. We'll check when we come back from hearing from Dave Dials.
Here's a World Series update. Minnesota has tied St. Louis 5-all. Tudor is out. Horton is in. Minnesota still batting in the 5th inning. 1 out, or 1 on and 2 out. It's 5-all. Jim, back to you.
Well, I bet that Metrodome is wild. 3rd down and inches to go here for Ohio State. They did not get the first down. They show us a full house backfield. Workman, and that should be enough. If the ball got to the 45, he's got the first down. Another thing about through the 3rd quarter statistics, Steve, you're showing 213 total yards for Minnesota. That tells you something about the Ohio State defense as well as the turnovers. They've been averaging 420+ yards a game.
Well, they were able to get to a significant lead, and then Minnesota, for some reason, went away from their option game, and Ohio State has been able to play extremely well on defense. So you're exactly right.
Tony White checks in, replacing Frank Jackson at a corner for Minnesota. White, like Jackson, is a freshman. First down, Ohio State at the 45.5-yard line. Rain continues to fall, and hard. Better than 85,000. Yet another sellout here at Ohio Stadium. Those who are up under the overhang are staying. Those out in the altogether, a lot of them have left. Buckeyes want points in this half. Tupa still got the ball, looking for Workman downfield, under the ball, and fell down. Nobody touched him. In trying to turn around at about the 8 or 7, Vince lost his footing.
There are some encouraging things. Watch Carlos Snow, number 25. Watch him fake. Goes over the top like he's got the ball, and then Tupa's got plenty of time, and Workman will just fall down, trying to turn, trying to adjust to the ball of Tupa. And I wonder if that's not an influence of the wind. Again, watch Carlos Snow. Let's see, who is it? There's Workman, I'm sorry. Workman breaking down, and I wonder if this is not the influence of the wind on the ball getting hung up. It's swirling around in that part of the end zone, and he has to adjust, and he's not able to.
Look like an outfielder Candlestick Park. Here's a quick short pass to Carlos Snow, and Snow is still on his feet. They gave up on him, and he's going to score his 4th touchdown of the day. What a 19th birthday. They gave up on him, figuring they had him, and Snow is the newest Ohio State hero. In a time when they need offense, this youngster, 19 today, has given it to him. His 4.4 speed in the 40. Nobody could catch him once he got away from those 2 men who hit him, and he spun away from them. And shortly it's going to be 35-9, and shortly we'll be talking about Minnesota with 2 losses in the Big Ten and their 2nd loss in as many weeks. Matt Franson adds the extra point. Ohio State is in charge, and they've been able to score in the 2nd half, something they haven't been able to do. 35-9, the Buckeyes.
Again, here is a young man that's a redshirt freshman. Now he's got 3 people that have a chance to make a tackle.
World Series.
Boy, it is fun to watch an exciting young player. I promise you, he is having almost fumbled the ball as he's going into the end zone. He's watch at his left foot as how close this play could have been to going out of bounds. and then watch him make the right turn. You've got to be excited. This will make the highlight film for Ohio State.
Pete Johnson and Keith Byers are big names in Ohio State history. They're the only two men who've scored 5 touchdowns for the Buckeyes. With a quarter to go, Carlos Snow has scored his first, second, third, and fourth of his career.
Jim, Indiana has blunted a Michigan drive inside. Hoosiers have the ball, less than 8 minutes to play, leading Michigan 14-10. The Minnesota Twins have come up with 4 runs in the 5th inning. Bernansky was safe at home in a close play. The Twins leading St. Louis 6-5 as they go to the 6th inning in the Loud Dome. Back to you, Jim.
That dome can do anything. John Tudor, as good as he is, moving into the dome, had a lead, and all of a sudden it's 6-5 Minnesota. Tough at home. Will it be a 7th game tomorrow night? That one's not over yet. The pitch, Thompson, and he's got a first down across the 30-yard line. The time is on the side of Ohio State. They're up by 26 points. And the biggest thing is they have scored 21 points in the second half. That's their most productive second half of the year. Admittedly, turnovers have led to 4 scores. But there was that long 85-yard drive also in the second half, and the Buckeyes might be a team now really to be feared. They were picked to win the Big Ten by many in the remainder of the Big Ten race. Thompson hit in the backfield. Fine defensive play there.
I think Ohio State's been asked to really recover as we look at scores across the country. Ohio State's been asked to recover from a lot of adversity this year, and certainly it's a compliment to the depth and their opportunities of the talent they have to be able to overcome the mistakes, the problems, the injuries, the ineligibilities, all the things that have been very frustrating for them.
Augie again gets the ball out here to Carter, the man who was hurt a little while ago at the 39-yard line. He does not hold on to the football.
The pass intended for Dennis Carter, incomplete.
Ohio State beginning to make some moves now.
Come on, baby.
In their defensive line, Mike Showalter is now in there and playing, number 98. 3rd down, 12 to go, 35-9. Next week, we have Indiana, which is beating Michigan at the moment in the rain in Bloomington, at Iowa, which won big today over Purdue. Blitz is on from Spielman. Fourth down and a ton. Now Herbal will have to kick it away to Workman. Into the wind. Workman's going to let that wobbler hop. And Minnesota downs it at the 44-yard line. John Snyder in the rain on the sideline.
Here with me is Greg Rogan, outstanding defensive back, a 4-year start at Ohio State. His season is over, a broken leg a couple of weeks ago against Indiana, but you guys have put a lot of points on the board today, and Carlos Snow's really exciting.
Yes, Carlos is definitely coming to his own. We knew that he had a lot of talent. It was just going to be a matter of time when he would come through and break that long one for us, and he seemed to do an exceptional job today.
He talked about when he started out, was he a little bit nervous? He fumbled quite a bit early on, did he not?
Yeah, he was kind of nervous because the first 3 times he had the ball, he fumbled, but Coach Bruce had confidence in him and kept giving him the ball, and I think now that he's over the hump.
Greg, what about the attitude of this team? Now, you needed a game like this, didn't you? There's been a lot of people said Ohio State's offense isn't moving, a big question mark.
Yeah, definitely. I think that we were kind of doubting ourselves after a while, especially after the loss to Indiana, but now I think we kind of gelled, and we're going to surprise a lot of people.
All right, Greg Rogan, outstanding defensive back. His season is over, but Ohio State moving on.
Greg Fry, the freshman quarterback, in relief of Tupa, handing off to Cooper, who picks up the first down inside the 35. Again, Carlos Snow with the 4 touchdowns today. We want to tell you again, he gained 7,856 yards in high school and 104 touchdowns rushing the football. Highly touted freshman. Fry throwing the ball complete. Down near the 20-yard line. Cliff makes the stop, or rather the catch, and O'Hara makes the stop. Foggy, remember what happened last year to him? His statistics are not as good this year. He had -1 yard rushing and only 4 for 10 passing. And it's not been a good year or a good day today either. Ohio State's defense has done a job on Foggy, and 4 turnovers have made this no game at all for Minnesota. Here's that man, Snow, stepping outside at the 14-yard line. So Carlos has a chance to get that 5th touchdown. He is in the lineup. Rain continues to fall heavily, but for the Buckeyes, everything is coming up. Can't say roses yet, but at least with a chance, because Indiana's still out. And Indiana thumped this ball club, remember?
It's certainly fair to say they've had a snow job put on them today. I promise you that.
I'm glad I didn't think of that line.
Well,
that'll be headlines in some papers tomorrow. Cube is wide to the right. Ball is handed to James Bryant. Gets inside the 10-yard line. They'll move the sticks. That's yet another first down.
I think the question mark coming in for Minnesota at the beginning of the game, at least, was really questioning just how good they were. They had played a suspect schedule early before the Indiana defeat, and they wanted to find out how good they were. They thought they would match up more competitively against Ohio State. It did not happen.
First and goal to go. Sigenthaler's the man in motion. And touchdown, Cooper. And Cooper, believe it or not, that is his first touchdown rushing the ball this year.
That's been part of the problem of Ohio State. They came in with only 5 rushing touchdowns. It's just power football inside. Good effort by Zakharoff, 51, and then the break of George Cooper off of the block of Zakharoff to put it in the end zone.
And Matt France, for the 6th time today, and for the 43rd time in a row, he knocks it through on a point-after touchdown. 10 minutes and 2 seconds to go in the ball game. And this game obviously belongs to the Buckeyes. After all, they lead 42-9.
Big Ten football presents Dave Snell quarterbacking the Indiana Hoosiers against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Game day starts with the Big Ten today, Saturday, 12 Eastern, 11 Central. This is Dave Dials in Big Ten Television headquarters in Champaign, Illinois. Not in 103 years has Indiana ever defeated Michigan and Ohio State in the same year. We're going to show you a play here that may be the most critical play of the season for the Hoosiers. They have stopped Michigan on a 4th and 11, 2 minutes, 30 seconds to play. Indiana now has the football and could beat Michigan and Ohio State in the same year for the first time in more than a century.
David, as we watch the kickoff here from O'Morrow into the end zone, and they're going to bring it out. Couch has decided this is the time to run with the football, and a flag is now way downfield as Couch is still on his feet and gets near midfield. Good run by Gary Couch, replacing Gators, but a flag is down at the 16. 103 years Indiana has not beaten Michigan and Ohio State in the same year.
The tackle is by Dwight Smith.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. And when he stopped them on that pass play on 4th down 11, a clipping call, looked like a bunch of Indiana defenders were around that man. Like bees to honey. They'll bring that good return of Gary Couch back for a clipping penalty.
I think the key about Indiana is that you just really can never underestimate what confidence does for a football team that's not had a whole lot of success in the past. And that's the real secret, and they've just taken the challenge to about everybody.
It's a young football team. Well, this group, and it's been a makeshift group in that fourth wall due to injury, has been maligned a lot, but Ohio State's Buckeyes can say, what about that second half against Minnesota, which had lost only 1 game before, that by a single point to Indiana, which is handing it to Michigan today. First down from the 13. Fullhouse backfield. Foggy carrying the ball. Run down from behind. Don Kershimsky, freshman out of Riverhead, New York, ran him down as Earl Bruce begins to substitute liberally, and the rain continues to pour down.
Way to go, line! All right, offensive line! Way to go,
Lots of Bowl Scouts came here to look at both Ohio State and Minnesota. Probably have only eyes for Ohio State at the moment. Darrell Thompson, some good moves to get out near the 18-yard line. 9:02 to go, 42-9 Ohio State. Dave Dials has more scores.
Jim, in the Dome, Minnesota's at bat, 6th inning. Twins have one on, nobody out, and they lead St. Louis 6-5. Forsch is in pitching for St. Louis, so I'm keeping you up to date. There's no point in leaving our game, and we'll have scores and highlights of everything you can imagine later on. Jim?
So Tudor is out and Forsch is in. Third down and a yard for Minnesota. Foggy looks like he may have the yard to the 20-yard line. And look what they're doing. I know, Steve, that 42-9 is difficult to overcome. I know they're deep in their own territory. I know they're going against the wind, but they will the rest of the game. But they're running the ball.
Well, they've been frustrated trying to throw the ball consistently, and when you're an option team and you haven't been able to throw it or run it very effectively, I mean, you're trying to just not make it any worse than it is right now. They're going to have to stretch it out a little bit and give themselves a chance.
The most points scored against Minnesota has been considerable, 33 until today, and Ohio State has 42. But Minnesota well below. Look at this, coming around the other way and throwing a pass, and out here is Couch, who can't hold on to the ball. What they did was pitch the ball to wide receiver Michael Baker, who came around to his right and threw a pass to Gary Couch low, and Couch couldn't catch it. Next week, Indiana holding on against Michigan today by 4, against Iowa today, which won big over Purdue. 11 o'clock Central. We go back to the early time, 12 Eastern time. That'll be a game to see. You don't think the Hawkeye fans are very excited, do you? Hayden Fry saying 1 or 2 wins, we can still win the Big Ten. We can still go to the Rose Bowl, but they got to beat Indiana next week, and that's becoming increasingly tough as time goes on. Darrell Thompson picks up a couple of yards. Well, we've been talking about what's going on elsewhere. Let's check in with Dave Dials to see what's going on elsewhere.
It's ready to bust loose at Bloomington, Jim. It's 2nd and 8, about a minute left, and Indiana leads Michigan by a score of 14-10. Then the Hoosiers have the ball. You know, in 1967, the Hoosiers went to the Rose Bowl, lost to OJ and USC by a score of 14-3. That was the Johnny Pont team. Back to you, Jim.
And remember, Michigan State was tied by Illinois today, so Indiana would be alone at the top. They win this game. 3rd and long, where Foggy gets the ball away, intercepted again. The 5th turnover, and this time it's Zach Dumas. 5 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and 2 fumbles. Well, one of them was kind of a pitch out that was bobbled up in the air and picked out of the air.
Zach Dumas replaced Greg Rogan, who John Snyder interviewed earlier. This is his 2nd start. Foggy's under a lot of duress again. 95's in there on him. And he just throws it right to Zach Dumas, the sophomore. And he's able to use his talent, move the ball upfield, protect the ball. Good job by Zach Dumas.
First down at the 20-yard line. Foggy has had a tough day. Jim Wagner's in as a wide receiver. Too much time taken by the freshman Fry. Sigenthaler was a man in motion. And they'll move it back. Remember last year we told you that Foggy had -1 yard rushing and 4 for 10 passing.
There is the true freshman Carlos Snow.
At Bloomington, Indiana's less than 30 seconds from leading the Big Ten all by itself. Less than 30 seconds from beating Ohio State and Michigan for the first time in what Dave Dow said, 103 years. They'll tear Bloomington up, leave something there. Here's Fryback throwing, leading as they are, and the ball is dropped.
The pass intended for Bill Matlock. Incomplete.
Indiana's got the ball, 15 seconds to go. We started the story about Foggy, how he was -1 yards last year, 4 for 10 passing, 7 for 16 today, but he's thrown 3 interceptions for 102 yards and 9 rushes for 29 yards. So individually, it's been a better day for Foggy in terms of statistics, but I don't think that will console him a bit when he realizes the turnovers and that it's 42-9 and he's thrown 3 interceptions, all of which have led to scores. Not much there. They're winding down in Indiana, so let us go now to Dave Dials.
Jim, they have wound down, and this is the celebration you see at Bloomington. Despite the rain, there is no gloom in Bloomington. The Hoosiers have defeated Bo Schembechler's Michigan Wolverines 14-10. Bill Mallory, the coach of the Hoosiers, he and Bo Schembechler both played and coached at Miami, and both coached at Bowling Green. Back to Columbus, Ohio.
There's Fryback to throw. Gets the ball out and almost intercepted. Almost a rare turnover for Minnesota. But let's get more about Indiana. Back to Dave Dials.
Incomplete.
It's a family situation there as we see them taking down the goalpost. Doug Mallory plays for Bo. He's Bill's son. Mike Mallory did play for Bo Schembechler. He's Bill's son. He's now a graduate assistant at Indiana for his father. There's still another Mallory coming along. His name is Kurt Mallory. He's a high school senior at Bloomington South. His team undefeated going into the state championship. Indiana in first place in the Big Ten. And the last time that happened was in 1967. Johnny Pont was the coach. His team won 7 games by a touchdown or less, and they called them the Brink Kids because they played on the brink of disaster all season long. What a day for the Hoosiers of Indiana. If it was the darkest day in Ohio State football a couple of weeks ago from Ohio State lost to Indiana, is this the brightest day in Hoosier football, Jim?
It's to be, despite the rain. And Indiana goes to Iowa next week, and we will follow them there. Our congratulations to Bill Mallory and Indiana, and I would assume that young team of his really believes now. While you were watching that report, Mike France, into the strong wind and in a rainstorm, tried a 44-yard field goal, which was no good. So the score remains 42-9 Ohio State. The Gophers have the ball at the 25.5-yard line. And they're going, I should say France was kicking with the wind. And now a new quarterback. Alan Holt pitches the ball out, and not much there for Minnesota. Darrell Thompson has not had that kind of day, has he? Stops the clock with 6 minutes to go. Well, it is now official. That is that Indiana now leads the Big Ten with Michigan State, which tied today with Illinois, a half a game back. Northwestern won its first. Michigan lost. That's their second loss. We've been kind of keying in on 2 conference losses of being nearly tragic in your hopes for the Rose Bowl, but not for a postseason bowl of another kind. Holt still with the ball, fires the ball in and out of the hands of the intended receiver, and that's Pat Tingelhoff, the son of Mick Tingelhoff, the fine Viking player. Pat is a freshman living in Prior Lake, Minnesota.
Defended.
5:55 to go. The rain continues to come down, and the fans continue to leave. Their Buckeyes have put it all together. Defense has triggered much of the offense. There are the statistics. Ohio State looked like Minnesota figures there before today. 415 total yards. Minnesota down to 232. About 200 yards less than their average for a complete game. Alan Holt dumps the ball over the head of Darrell Thompson. Holt is a junior out of Miami, Florida. Foggy apparently is through for the day.
Ohio State can be so positive about so many things right now because of their offense.
Here, and we assume that at 42-9 that this is accurate all the way through, although Ohio State, Minnesota's not yet over. Indiana 4-0 in the Big Ten. Michigan State 3-0-1. Ohio State 3-1. Minnesota 2-2. Iowa 2-2. Michigan 2-2. Illinois 1-2-1. The tie today, Purdue. And the rest of them down at the bottom of the Big Ten Conference heap. Terrible to kick the ball away. Workman says, I'll take this on a fair catch, and does so, but drops the football, and it is picked up by Minnesota. Recovery by Minnesota of the fumble by Vince Workman. Albert McGee picked it up, and it's Minnesota's ball. Inside the 30-yard line. 5:39 left. McGee, what you'll see him here pick the ball up almost on a hop right to it, Steve.
Workman has excellent hands, just trying to adjust to the football, and because probably the wet conditions, it slips away. Minnesota gets the break. They've just had too few today.
Oh, boy.
You've just got to compliment Ohio State. Last week they were in a pursued, aggressive defense. This week they're in a kind of a assignment type defensive style. They've really been able to adjust and play it well.
First down from the 27-yard line. Holt with the ball and falls down, trying to reverse himself on the carpet with the rain. But now, with this game almost history, you got to look ahead. Minnesota now will have 2 losses. They get Illinois at Illinois next week, and Illinois is the one that tied Michigan State today. Whereas Ohio State takes home, and next Saturday stays home, they get Michigan State. So hold on in the Big Ten. And Indiana will have no picnic against the #1 defense in the conference, and that is Iowa at Iowa City. Dave Dials will have all of the stories, including the World Series, for you. Counts the man in motion. Holt with the football. Holt throwing this way out of bounds, intended for Carter, the man who was shaken up earlier on the play.
Alan Holt's pass intended for number
Mark Polini, a freshman, was back defending.
Ohio State has done such a good job when they've gone into the transition game when Minnesota was throwing the football. There's Dennis Carter. The ball is out of bounds. Polini is playing defensive back, number 48. Good effort by Ohio State. They were never paralyzed by having to play assignment football. They never got the disease of paralysis by analysis. They were able to play very well and very intelligent, make the adjustments.
Third down, 15. Holt looking to run. He needs more than a run. Will not even get out of bounds. And it's 4th down. And the clock will continue to run. Pickup of only a few.
Can I get in here? Thank you. Look at this.
It will be a happy week for Ohio State because they have been looking for this type of game where they were putting points on the board, controlling defensively, and doing all the right things, getting all phases of the game contributing to the effort. And I think they found some things. They found Vince Workman. They found Carlos Snow, Tom Tupa, things that had to happen. They've got to happen now as they go for the stretch for the Rose Bowl.
They're going on 4th down. Nothing to lose. Holt delivers the ball to Carter. No good. Dwight Smith back there defending, but the ball belongs to Ohio State.
Carter is one of the fastest gophers on the football team. He's not a great receiver, but he really is an effort, and he's a fast guy, and he generally is wide open. He's working on Dwight Smith, the second-team cornerback. Smith does a great job breaking right on the ball, knocking it away, keeping distance from the receiver so he's not to interfere. Good defensive effort. That everything goes right.
First down for Ohio State, less than 4 minutes to go. Look ahead for you in just a moment. Lance Parrish carries for a bit. Looking ahead, you know that Indiana's at Iowa. We told you Michigan State comes here, and Minnesota has to go to Illinois. But let's go past that. Minnesota at home on the 7th has to play Michigan. Well, Ohio State gets Wisconsin. On the 14th, Ohio State is host to Iowa here. That'll be tough. Whereas Minnesota will get Wisconsin at home. That should be rather easy for them. And then in the final game, there's Ohio State, Michigan, of course, and Minnesota with another toughie at Iowa. That's what lies ahead for both teams in their quest for postseason honors as far as bowl selection is concerned. Clock running down in a rainstorm at Ohio Stadium, where Minnesota has not won since 1949 and will not win today. 102. They're playing like Iowa today, and remember, they gave up pass yards 102 and a little over 200 yards total, whereas Minnesota's been averaging 420.7 yards per game, the best in the conference. That average will go down perceptibly today. Third down. Fry. Talk about time. Dumps it out and low and incomplete. 2:33 to go. With more word about what's going on, Dave Dials.
Here's your winning touchdown as the Hoosiers of Indiana beat Bo Schembechler's Michigan Wolverines. The quarterback, Dave Schnell, second in the nation in total offense. Indiana 14, Michigan 10. Back to Jim Simpson.
Where Tom Tupa is trotting on the field, not to quarterback, but to do what he does very well. And this should add to his average with the wind behind him. His incredible average of 48 yards per kick, and this will not hurt that. Minnesota's Richardson called for a fair catch and then figured, oh no. 2:22 to go. Back with more Big Ten football in a moment. 42-9 Ohio State.
Dave Dials in our Big Ten studios in Champaign, Illinois, where I'm surrounded by St. Louis fans who are very upset that Kent Herbeck has hit a grand slam home run. The Twins lead St. Louis 10-5. They're now in the 7th inning, so the series might go to a 7th game. Jim Simpson?
5 runs, and you're saying it might go. I'm already planning for Sunday night in front of the television set, David. And game 7. But who knows? The Cardinals are not a big run team. And that Metrodome can be intimidating. Who knows? But with John Tudor, I never would have thought it'd be a 5-run lead after they were trailing. And then they got to 4th. Second down, Minnesota, not much there for the backup to Darrell Thompson. Marcus Evans, number 26. Clock a minute and a half. Flag is down. They'll discuss this. That stops the clock for the moment.
Did John Snyder drown?
No. But he was last seen floating out of exit 36. There he is.
There's John.
We don't want you to talk. We just want to look at you, John. Of course, we'll all look like that as we try to get to the car once this is over.
John gets the Buckeye Award.
Marching this penalty against Ohio State. All of this is academic. The big story is Indiana's come from behind win over Michigan. Michigan State's being tied by Illinois. Ohio State finding itself and thoroughly dominating Minnesota today, allowing the best offense in the Big Ten Conference until today, but 9 points. First down. Holt puts the ball out there, and it is incomplete. Everybody's playing everybody now. That was Ed Barr, reserve tight end, a sophomore out of International Falls, Minnesota, and it's second down. Repeat again, next Saturday, this will be a rocking place again. Michigan State comes to town with Bobby McAllister and Lorenzo White. White was rather stymied today by Illinois' defense. Whereas Minnesota remains on the road, goes to play Illinois, and they tied Michigan State and had a lot to do with Lorenzo White's inability today. There goes Marcus Evans on the ground.
Marcus Evans.
And there will be less than a minute to go once this next play is underway. 42-9. Big story here as you look at the turnovers. The big story, Carlos Snow with 4 touchdowns on his 19th birthday, his first 4 of his college career.
The Minnesota coaches felt like coming in that they could not afford any more than 1, possibly 2 turnovers offensively in the ball game, and they had a disastrous day. And don't you know the frustration of coaches? You never know when your team's going to explode or make mistakes or be critical and beat yourself, and they've done it today.
Holt pitches out. DeMarcus Evans stops the clock with 33 seconds to go as he gets out of bounds. So after today, Ohio State will be 5-1-1, edge up in the overall standings of the nation's best teams. They'll be 3-1 in the conference, and Minnesota will be 5-2, but in the Big Ten they will be 2-2. Losers of 2 in a row, and on the road next week. Holt still looking, passing, and complete to Dennis Carter across the way. That'll stop the clock for the first down with 28 seconds to go.
Alan Holt's pass is complete to number 29, Dennis
Carlos Snow, Tom Tupa. The ability of Ohio State to use 5 turnovers. And of course the ability of Ohio State to put an 85-yard drive together in the second half, which has been almost desert-like for them as far as scoring in the past several weeks. Marcus with the ball again. And unless someone calls timeout, that should be the last play of the game. 5 seconds, so count it down. Ohio State remains with but 1 loss. 42-9, Ohio State. Our final score here at Columbus, Ohio. Ohio State 42 and Minnesota 9. This Big Ten football telecast, an exclusive presentation of RCM Sports.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Diaz. We're going to quickly run through some scores and bring you up to date on everything that's happening in college football today. Primarily the Big Ten. We're going to start with that. Ohio State finally got a wake-up call for its offense, and the 14th-ranked Buckeyes walloped Ricky Foggy's Minnesota Gophers by a score of 42-9. Freshman Carlos Snow out of Cincinnati Cape with 4 touchdowns in that one. All right, Purdue and Iowa. Iowa a winner, 38-12, but the Hawkeyes have 2 defeats in the Big Ten. Earlier today, we spoke with the Iowa coach, Hayden Fry, right after his team came off the field after beating Purdue 38-14. Coach Fry, a big victory for you guys today, and which one of the games you played earlier would you like to replay?
Well, actually, with this football team, we'd like to replay all of them. It's great to finally win on television. We'd had a great 1-loss record on TV, and we'd lost to Michigan and Michigan State, so it's good to play against a good Purdue team today.
Is this an Iowa team that is slow to mature, Coach?
Well, it's an Iowa team that's very inexperienced with a lot of injuries, and we're just not a real fine football team, but I was very impressed with the way we moved the ball late in the game with our young linemen. I think we'll be all right.
Okay, let's talk about how all right you might be. Only 3 times in the history of the Big Ten has a team with 2 defeats gone to the Rose Bowl. Knowing you for the years that I have and the optimistic outlook you take on life, you're still thinking Rose Bowl, aren't you?
Well, you have to talk that way to your players. We're one of those 3 teams that have gone to the Rose Bowl with 2 defeats in the Big Ten. We had 5 games remaining, counting the one today. There's a possibility we could win all 5, a possibility we could lose 4 of them. We won 1 of them. We got 4 Saturdays to go. We're still in the hunt.
All right, Hayden Fry, thank you very much. Here's a final. Michigan State against Illinois, 14-all. Illinois blocked a field goal by Langlow on the final play of the game. Northwestern won its first game of the season, beating Wisconsin 27-24. Ira Adler was the hero with a 43-yard field goal in the final period of play. And as you know, Indiana has defeated Michigan 14-10. Lots of things going on here. The first time in 103 years of football that Indiana has defeated both Michigan and Ohio State in the same year. First touchdown of the game. David Schnell, second in the nation in total offense. 12-yard touchdown pass to Ernie Jones. And then Michigan coming back. Demetrius Brown to John Kolosar, number 40. That tied it at 7. And then the winner was that man, Dave Schnell again. Kept it for himself. He said, when you can't find anybody else, take it and trust it to yourself. 14-10, Indiana. Great jubilation at Bloomington. The faithful, the 9th sellout in 28 years. through the rain all day and the gloom at Bloomington. I don't know whether it'll be safe to drive through there tonight. But at any rate, 14-10, Michigan defeats Indiana. Or Indiana defeats Michigan. 56-3, no question about this. Number 2 in the country. Nebraska with 662 yards in total offense over Kansas State. Auburn lost its quarterback to a tentative suspension today. Jeff Berger is out, and the young man who's in, Reggie Slack, with 3 touchdown passes. 6th-ranked Auburn beats Mississippi State 38-7. North Carolina State rolled up a 30-0 lead and then held off 7th-ranked Clemson in Death Valley. 30-28, the final in that. Why in the world would Coach Dick McPherson of Syracuse lead Colgate by a score of 49-0 and then kick a field goal? I'm afraid I don't understand that. 52-6 was the final score. All right, Notre Dame, a winner today. Lou Holtz is happy. 26-15 over Southern California. That's 5 straight times that the Irish have defeated the Trojans. Isn't that why they fired Ted Tollner? Tim Brown had a modest day today. Kentucky and Georgia. Kentucky led 14-3. Georgia came back and won the game 17-14, and Vince Dooley, out of the hospital, was on the sidelines. Tennessee over Georgia Tech by a score of 29-15. Oklahoma State trailed Missouri 17-7, came back. Thurman Thomas with 108 yards. Oak State wins the game 24-20. South Carolina, Todd Ellis with a big day today, 34-12. He had 425 yards through the air, and his career completion yardage over 5,000 yards. South Carolina wins it 34-12. We have more scores coming right up on the Big Ten today. Big Ten football highlights exciting Indiana with the Hoosiers' explosive offense taking the field against the Iowa Hawkeyes on Saturday. Quarterback Dave Snell rates with the nation's leaders in passing. He's a scoring threat on the ground as well. Quarterback Chuck Hartlieb has taken over the controls for Iowa. He has the Hawks airborne. He hits a bevy of receivers for long gains, including top rusher Kevin Harmon. Game day starts right here with the Big Ten today. Don't miss it Saturday, 12 Eastern, 11 Central.
1987 should be another banner season for Big Ten football. Learn more about your favorite teams by ordering the Big Ten Football Yearbook. It's the same source media members use to cover the conference. Outlooks, roster, and stats on each team are included, as well as all-time Big Ten records. Just send $7 plus $2.50 per order for first-class postage to Big Ten Football Yearbook, 1111 Plaza Drive, Schaumburg, Illinois, 60173. Be a Big Ten football expert. Order your copies today.
Quickly through some scores. Pittsburgh over the Naval Academy by a score of 10-6. Rutgers defeats the Army by a score of 27-14. The Air Force salvaged something for the armed forces this afternoon, beating UTEP 35-7. Holy Cross with Gordy Lockbaum, another big day, 41-0 over Ivy League opponent Brown. Columbia now has lost 37 in a row. Bucknell, the winner over Columbia this afternoon by a score of 62-20. In the Southwest Conference, Arkansas scored late and defeated Houston by a score of 21-17. In the Pac-10, Oregon State and Arizona State are at halftime, and Oregon State leads 21-17. The last report we had, 39 seconds left in this game, and Stanford has scored and is threatening to beat Oregon by a score of 13-10. In the Mid-American Conference this afternoon, despite a great performance by Tony Kimbrough, the Western Michigan quarterback who gained 331 yards passing, Eastern Michigan's Hurons beat the Broncos 23-17. 19 turnovers for the season for Ohio University. That's why Kent State beat the Bobcats this afternoon by a score of 24-10, spoiling homecoming at Athens, Ohio. Ball State over Central Michigan in the other Mid-American Conference game. The score was 13-3, and Miami of Ohio has set a record but is losing to Toledo 27-9. Gary Gussman has set a Mid-American Conference record for field goals. He's kicked 3 today and now has 65 on the season. Yet the Rockets lead the Redskins 27-9 at the Glass Bowl. Two famous coaches, Schnellenberger and Faust, teeing it up today, and Schnellenberger beats Jerry Faust. Louisville over Akron 31-10. Jay Gruden with 357 yards passing for Louisville. In the Southwest Conference again, Texas Christian beats Baylor by a score of 24-0. Texas A&M, this is a final over Rice, 34-21. The quarterback, a freshman, Bucky Richardson of A&M, carried the ball 8 times and gained 137 yards. Tulsa and Texas Tech, a big winner in that one by a score of 42-7. Back to the Big 8 Conference, and Kansas loses to Iowa State by a score of 42-28. Ole Miss over Vanderbilt in the Southeastern Conference. Each was winless until today by a score of 42-14. We'll return to wrap things up on the Big Ten today from Champaign right after this. Directed by Al Killian. Creative Director Paula Birmingham. Associate Producer Salvatore Johnson. Associate Directors Krista Birmingham, Steve Novak, Mike Schatz.